Well, hello everybody and welcome to the 317th edition of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. I'm your host Steve Wellings, and joining me on the call so far we have Andy Patterson and Ozzy Smith. Just as I clicked start broadcast there, a little message came up that I haven't seen before. It said, Hangout is now going live. You are able to broadcast for a maximum of 8 hours. So hopefully we won't be testing that feature tonight. We'll be getting out pretty promptly. If anything's to go by off the weekend, we won't be here for too long anyway. There are more fights of interest next week, including Lomachenko against Krolla and a few other bits and pieces. But over the weekend, it was pretty dry, wasn't it? There wasn't a hell of a lot going on. Ozzy, I know that you saw this fantastic vacant Republic of Poland international heavyweight title fight between Martin Bakole and Mariusz Wach, so we'll go to you on that in a minute. Update from last weekend, which I'm sure everybody is desperate to hear about. Steve Forbes got a win. He's back over 6-25-4 Tavoris Teague. So well done, Stevie Forbes. Maybe we'll get that fight with DeMarcus Corley at some point. On Friday night, we saw David Oliver Joyce as well, in the only fight of any note, defeating Stephen Tiffany for one of these WBO bauble things over in the UAE, which seemed to be big news, according to MTK, who sent out about 57 press releases each day announcing it. No press releases, Ozzy, for Martin Bakole. I wouldn't say he was vindicated as such, but he's got people back on side now, hasn't he? After Billy Nelson was saying he was the greatest thing since sliced bread, the fight against Hunter, it didn't look good for him with the trying to pull out of the fight and then getting the injury midway and all this type of stuff. But he's come back now on away soil and he did a good job against Mariusz Wach. So maybe the Bakole hype train is back and well and truly back on the rails.
Yeah, it was a complete domination from Bakole, to be honest. Mariusz Wach, a faded version, looks completely shot to bits. Still a big tough lump and took all the shots of Bakole, but Bakole looked good in doing it. I still think he's got things to work on, and I think his team will be the first to admit that. But I think he's done it the right way in terms of after suffering a shock defeat by all accounts to Michael Hunter from the all the publicity that he'd had and the backing. Like I said, it was an upset defeat. He went away. I don't really know what he's done. And then he flew back over to Scotland. I think he did 2 weeks in the gym with Billy Nelson. And then they've gone out to Poland to fight Mariusz Wach. And a good win. Like I say, he's done it the right way. Wach's not an absolute world beater. But I'd rather see him go in with somebody like that than go and knock over three, just Z-list heavyweights that we don't learn anything from. From now, I saw Billy Nelson already calling out the winner of Dave Allen against Lucas Brown. I can't see that happening personally. And whilst Bakole's got that win, I don't think it does a lot for him. And I still think he's in the who needs him club. And again, it'll be waiting for an opportunity like he did against Mariusz Wach, probably to go on the road to get potentially another upset win, because from a betting perspective, we've got to remember Martin Bakole went in as the underdog. Now, I know a lot of us spoke and felt like he would have enough to beat Mariusz Wach, and he did exactly that. So it's going to be interesting to see. I believe he's got a visa sorted now, so I think he can reside in Scotland for the foreseeable future. So, the Bakole train is back on the rails, and let's see what destination it takes us to next.
Yeah, pleased to see where he goes. He obviously has the talent. Whether he can put it together in a big fight opportunity remains to be seen. Some real interesting results elsewhere on that card. Andrew Robinson got a win on away soil against this Damian Jonak. If you haven't seen the Patrick Szymanski fight against Robert Talarek, Talarek's a journeyman. He's been over to the UK in the past, and it was one hell of a war. There were knockdowns galore. It really was interesting. Well worth a watch, that one. Chudinov lost as well to Paul Krzyzewski in the main event of sorts, I suppose. And you can talk about anything you want over the weekend, or if you don't want to talk about any of that stuff, did you see any of this? Terry Woodfine sent me a message earlier. I didn't keep up to date on this stuff, but he said, any chance of you discussing this on the pod, mate? And he showed me a picture of two guys and their faces look like they've been through the mangler. He says, in my opinion, it's fucking insane and barbaric. We talk about fights shortening careers. This fighting must surely shorten lives. No idea what Paulie Malignaggi is doing going into this crazy world. He's talking about this bare-knuckle boxing, Andy. What's going on?
I've only seen like the last 3 minutes. I don't know if it was like a decision win or whatever, but it's that Artem Lobov, he's good friends or pals with Conor McGregor. He fought a guy called Jason Knight. I think they're both ex-UFC. Basically, if you want to see the fit, as you say, mate, Lobov's got like two swollen eyes and cut down the left side of his face. His nose is all mangled. I mean, if you even look at Knight, Knight looks even worse actually. He looks like Jurgen Bremer, but just he's got slashes all over his face and stuff. Both guys had, like, say, the only thing that had wrapped up really was their wrists, obviously, to try and support them. But other than that, it was pure bare knuckle. It's as far as I could see anyway. And as somebody said last night, or to me earlier on the day, Paulie's shit nuts to be taking up this thing, because we all know Paulie is a boxer with his gloves on and stuff like that. His best punch was a jab, but he couldn't throw the right hand because it kept breaking. I don't know how many operations he's had on it, but I think he's broke his hand like 10 times. How the hell he's going to compete at that type of fighting? It's going to be, unless he's going to run about the ring and just duck punches all night long and stuff like that. But he's got to try and land something, unless he's going to jab and grab or whatever. And I just don't see how he's going to be successful with that, especially at his age. I don't see it, but obviously it's going to take off that thing, because people love a bit of violence and a bit of blood and that. As for the other boxing over the course of the weekend, mate, I've got a couple of fights saved. I've not seen anything, as you know. I've been away for a couple of days and stuff. But the only fight I have seen so far this weekend is a big Turkish heavyweight, Ali Demirezian, against an ex Tom Swartz opponent, Adnan Rezovic.
Yeah, tell us about this, Andy.
Yeah, well, Rezovic, I don't know how many points he got deducted. It must have been something close to like 4 or 5 points over the course of this 5.5 rounds, 6 rounds, whatever it went through. Persistent spitting out the mouthpiece. This Demirezian, as I say, it's the first time I've ever seen him fight. I didn't remember him fighting in the Olympics, but he fought Hergovic during the Olympics. He's fought Joe Joyce during, I think it was the World Championship, was back in 2015. So he's definitely got a bit of pedigree, and you can see it about him. 29-year-old, he does carry a bit of timber about the midriff and stuff, but I was impressed at a point that he was using feints, he was jabbing, he was letting his hands go often. I just don't think the big Bosnian was really fancying it whatsoever, and hence the reason why he kept spitting the mouthpiece out. But he showed a really good engine for a guy that size, actually. Okay, the level of opponent's not great and stuff, but if you look at his amateur pedigree, he has mixed it with some good fighters, just hasn't really kind of been successful. As I say, he does use some good body movement, he does dip and slide and try and throw some punches consistently and stuff, but I'm not going to proclaim anything with this guy, but I think it might be a decent addition, roughly to the European level, heavyweights and stuff. But we'll just see where he goes. I think they might push him quite quick, because as he's getting up in age. That was one of the European WBO titles of fighting there for last night, so I'm assuming he'll probably get ranked in the top 10 now with the WBO. I think he's in the top 15 at the minute. So other than that, mate, that's all I've seen. Obviously, I've got that fight, that big Polish fight with the knockdowns and that saved for later on, so I'll catch up with that one as well. It sounded it was absolute chaos, that fight, so I'll catch up with that later.
Yeah, it's well worth the watch. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Some familiar faces knocking about. MB's in there, Rob Barnett's as well. Tosh Bear giving it big. Michael White, Alan Hope coming off with some nonsense. He could be this week's Dave. What was the guy last week? Dave Kirkwood or something, was it? We always have these weirdos in. Maybe we'll get some spam links later as well, Andy.
Just block him the room, mate. He's just been an arsehole.
There we go. Bring on the block. We won't block you, Ozzy. Let's hit you with a question from Colin Cooper. He is asking you about this Polish card last night. Two-parted question. Let's hit you with part one, first of all, naturally. How would Andrew Robinson do against Felix Cash? That's what Colin wants to know.
I would, from all the talk of Felix Cash, I would probably side with him in this. We've seen Andrew Robinson step up a number of times now, I think 3 or 4 times to British, around that level, and he's fallen short. A solid enough fighter and an excellent win last night as well. Billy Nelson did tweet out actually saying that he helped work the corner and the scorecards were absolutely disgusting, and he felt Robinson pretty much pissed it and won every round. But when we have seen Robinson step up over here, he's fallen short against Frank Buglioni. Did lose a close one against Sam Sheedy. I think some people did have Robinson winning the fight as well. Lost to Lee Markham. And then got absolutely battered off Mark Heffron as well. So I would side with Cash, being honest. However, it would be a step up for Felix Cash at the moment, going off the calibre of opposition he's been in with.
Ozzy as well, he wants to know about Martin Bakole versus David Price. How would you see that one going?
I'll take Bakole, without a doubt. With David Price, we keep hearing he's this ferocious puncher, this one-punch knockout artist, and it's sold to us as, you know, he's like a big heavy hitter and one of the hardest hitters in the division. However, he didn't really budge Cash Ali in 5 rounds, nor did he really do Tom Little either. You know, this explosive one-punch knockout artist. I mean, I think his last realistically legit knockout was probably that Ivica Perkovic. The little stoppage I didn't agree with. He probably would have gone on to get the stoppage. And like I said, Ali, he didn't really land anything at all. I think he's just made for Bakole. Ali was well in the fight, and realistically, he's probably an area level heavyweight. And I certainly rank Bakole ahead of that. And I would happily take Bakole over Price. But I don't think Price would take that fight at all. I don't think he has any interest in fighting someone like Martin Bakole. I just don't think it pays him enough.
Oh, well said. Thanks for the question as well, Colin Cooper. Welcome onto the panel. It's been a while since we've heard from this guy. Let's get his little intro tune going.
I'm a gorilla. I'm a dog. I'm a dog. I'm a gorilla. I talk to no shit.
Dave the Hater Low back. How are you, Dave?
Hey, good to be back.
Good to hear from you, sir. You like a bit of violence in and out of the ring, it must be said. Bare-knuckle boxing, Dave, does it get you going?
Not so much. Mainly because the level of it's consistently the guys getting involved are. I don't want to be too hard on this, but the guys who can't cut it at elite level in the other sports, it's has-beens or never were's. He got Artem Lobov. You know, he lost most of his fights in the UFC. I don't want to trash the Rowdy Beck Rawlings, a female, a woman who also mostly got her ass kicked in the UFC. These are people who just aren't very well rounded in terms of boxing or wrestling or whatever other style of fighting. So they go in here just to make each other bleed and put on an entertaining show. I mean, it is entertaining, but I don't get the excitement out of it. I do out of a big, meaningful fight in MMA or boxing, because it's not at the highest level, and I don't really necessarily see it going in that direction. I heard a rumor, I'm not sure if this is true, that a fighter in last night's show was docked half of his purse because he was moving instead of...
Yeah, I was going to mention this, Dave, because Andy said about Paulie, if he was going to go into it, he could maybe run, but I forgot to mention that, actually. Yeah, he got ducked his purse for running, so Paulie hasn't got the avenue where he can put a pair of trainers on and jump around the ring.
That seems like a lawsuit right there. I mean, maybe it's in the contract you signed, but it seems a bit crazy. Like, I mean, they're not interested in styles make fights. They're not interested in the sweet science. They're interested in blood and just pounding away at each other. And I mean, it has its appeal, but it's not high level athletics.
I think it's a bit strange. I know this is a bit of a weird comparison, but it came into my head. In darts, there's a few guys who've been fined recently for not trying. And there was a guy, Mickey Mansell, he's from here actually, and they said that in some World Championship game, he got fined for allegedly not trying, even though he turned in and said, well, I won this leg and my average was at this, Dave, and, you know, it wasn't any lower than what it usually is. And how do you watch him and constitute, unless he's obviously just throwing the darts all over the place? How do you say whether he's not trying, you know?
That's a very slippery slope, and I don't think you should be fined when intent is very hard to prove. Even in boxing, sometimes we see a guy say, oh, well, he took an obvious dive. We still can't prove it. And as far as I know, the guy still gets paid. That's very tough. I don't think you should be losing your purse, especially in a sport where your life is on the line. Darts are a bit different, I guess. But at the same time, darts, I mean, how the hell do you tell when a guy's not trying? And especially that he's not trying on purpose, or he's not just having an off night.
If his averages aren't really changing in that, then, you know,
that's bizarre. That seems like he should sue the commission, or I assume they have a darts athletic commission, or whoever fined him, he should sue their ass.
It's called the Darts Sports Participation Network, I think.
Yeah, that's a good name. They ripped us off, like the UK generally does these days. I hope we don't take some of your authoritarian measures in our country. And
You okay, Dave? Halfway through there, it sounded like someone was trying to strangle you or something.
Oh, I was just shifting in my nice leather recliner seat.
Excellent. Anything else to add there, sir?
One thing, bare-knuckle concerns me a little. Like I could see it as a harmless distraction, sort of, for the most part. But I see a lot of people reacting like, how is this legal? Like, this is too brutal for me. This is barbaric. And I don't want that to impact the sports that I do love. I would hate for the absolute explicitness of the barbarism of combat sports to get attention from how brutal this bare-knuckle stuff is, and then therefore lead into measures that would lessen the brutality of the sports that we talk about all the time.
Thanks, Dave. We'll come back to you very shortly. Before we do so, delighted to welcome on the call our first guest of the evening. It's Joe Hughes. How are you, Joe?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Not a problem. There wasn't really too much going on over the weekend, not too much action. Did you get to see any boxing at all? Maybe Martin Bakole or anything?
No, not too much. I saw the results, heard about the 10 knockdown fight over in Poland, and Andrew Robinson getting that good win over in Poland, but didn't manage to actually see any of the action.
Yeah, it was quite difficult. Fair play to Andrew Robinson. We'll go straight on to your career then, shall we? You had a fight recently, Saturday, March the 30th. It didn't go your way. I would say it was a fairly controversial decision against Robbie Davis Jr. Tell us, from your perspective, Joe, how you saw it.
Yeah, well, it was a good fight. I thought it was a tough fight. We knew that going in, that it would be sort of a tough ask sort of going to Liverpool and getting a decision, you know, with him being the home fighter, and obviously signed a Matchroom as it is on their show and everything like that. Went over there, thought I'd done enough. You know, watching it back, I thought I had it by a couple of rounds. There obviously was close rounds, so, you know, it's a tough one, but I thought I won it, and, you know, most people thought I won it. It's a bit of pill to swallow, to be honest, thinking, you know, I went over to Italy, managed to get a points decision over there in Italy, and then you're fighting in your own country, and you can't get a fair shake of it.
Yeah, you were disappointed with Terry O'Connor's card in particular. I've seen an article on the Bristol Post where you said that you've basically accused the board of discriminating against you. Do you want to explain a little bit more to the listeners what you meant there?
Yeah. Well, I think that was sort of taken out of context a little bit. I was ranting a little bit to the reporter. I was a bit pissed off, to be honest. He spoke to me pretty quickly after the fight, within a couple of days. Basically, I was just asking the question, why does it keep happening? It's a few times now I've had, you know, bad decisions go against me, and the second time as well on in a British title fight. And I was sort of saying to the reporter, you know, is it because, you know, where we're from, you know, being like the West Country, it's sort of, you know, river boxing, backwater, if anything, you know, there's not a lot going on down here. You know, that gets heard of. Is it because of that? Is it because you know, I don't sell that many tickets? Is it because you know, I'm the away fighter? Is it because of you know, just, you know, they're just biased towards the home fighter and, you know, the big promoters fighter? Or, you know, I was just, you know, in my head I was like, or is it, you know, the board don't want someone with a disability to have the British title? Is that just embarrassing to them? Maybe thinking, oh, you know, that ain't sort of possible, or, you know, you ain't sort of worthy anyway. I was just, you know, spitballing sort of ideas in my head, talking to them. And obviously, you know, journalists being journalists are going to jump on that one for the, you know, most inflammatory story they can, I suppose. But, you know, it was just sort of, you know, I was just sort of questioning it. You know, it's the second time in a British title fight, and especially Terry O'Connor's card, it was just how they could give, you know, 10 rounds to Robbie and then 2 to me. Just seems like, is he even watching the fight, you know?
Yeah.
But, you know, it is what it is, I suppose.
No, for anybody who hasn't read the article in that case, then I think this is a case of needing to know the context then, because what you've told me there and what I was seeing are not two different things, because, you know, they wrote what you said, but all the other things sort of weren't mixed in. It was, you know, getting the story type of thing then.
Yeah, basically. And I suppose, you know, that's their job, I suppose, isn't it, to try and get people to click on the story. But yeah, I mean, just to be clear, I wasn't accusing the board of it. It was sort of, you know, that's just how it feels to me, and I suppose it's just because I've had things that have thrown at me in the past, and it's just some of it's in your head, when you are in the position that I'm in, and you're just thinking of what is it? Do they have something against me? I'm sure they don't. They probably don't even give me a second thought. They're just looking after whatever they want to look after, but you do question it, and those sort of things do run through your head.
Yeah, well said, Joe. I'm glad we've cleared that up. So you mentioned it there. Then you do effectively box with one arm. It's something called Erb's palsy. Do you want to tell the listeners a bit more about what it is?
Yeah, that's correct. Basically, when I was born, my shoulder got stuck on my mum's hip on the way out, and the midwife sort of pulled my head a bit too hard, and damaged a load of the nerves in my neck and on the right hand side of my shoulder when I was being born, as well as dislocating my shoulder and damaging some of the muscles and everything like that. And basically, what it is because of that nerve damage, my right arm hasn't developed properly. It's sort of 3 inches shorter where it never really grew properly. It's a lot weaker. It's less coordinated. My hand, there's a lot. I can't really do anything fiddly or anything like that with my right hand. It's sort of very, just sort of basic stuff, and just affects that whole side of my shoulder, my arm, and the top half of my body, really.
You're obviously very left-hand happy for obvious reasons. How does it feel in the fight using the right arm? I mean, if you throw the right hand, what happens?
Well, it's sort of a funny one because obviously I've been boxing a long time, and every coach I've ever had or spoke to is sort of trying to improve that right hand, and, and it is sort of it is getting better, and it's just a very steady process. But the thing of it isn't necessarily even the weakness of it. I find it's more there's like a mental gap almost. So when I throw my left hand, I don't even think about it. I just throw it, and what happens. It's sort of, I guess, like most boxers, you just let your hands go, and obviously you think what might work and things like that. But you just throw it. You just when it comes, you just react. But with my right hand, it's more sort of a process. I sort of think, I'm going to throw the right hand now. And then, a second later, I throw it, or I think, right, I'm going to wait till I get in this situation, then I throw it. It's not natural at all. As well as when I actually land, obviously, it's a lot weaker than my left. And it's more so, if I throw the punch, getting it back to my chin to sort of protect myself takes twice as long as it should, really. So it's a bit risky, leaving myself open with it. But, that's what it is, basically.
So every time you get in the ring, obviously, you're raising awareness physically, providing inspiration for people who have this condition. Do you get contacted by people with the condition as well? Yeah,
lots of people with the condition. I try and sort of involve myself in, the community of people who've got it as much as I can. I get a lot of messages, more so off of parents of kids that have the condition, rather than, people that actually have it. Just sort of saying, we a month ago our son was born and he's got Erb's palsy, and we're looking up for people with it to see, what can be done and everything like that, and other people with it, and that they find my story sort of inspiring and picks them up a bit in terms of that their child, they can still do something. It isn't going to hold them back that much. And as long as they sort of put their mind to it, it's going to be all right. It's not the end of the world. I know my parents, when they found out I had it, were sort of, obviously 28 years ago, there's not the internet and everything like that, so they were sort of a bit lost, almost, on what to do and knowing anyone with it or anything like that. But there's a charity now, a group called the Erb's Palsy Group, in the UK, that are really, really good in terms of bringing everyone together that have got it. They try and contact all the parents. As soon as the child's born with Erb's palsy, they're sort of in touch for support. Just moral support as well as medical advice, and passing them on to the right physiotherapist, the right surgeons, everything like that. So it's sort of come on a bit, and hopefully with the boxing and everything like that, I can just play my small part of raising awareness for it. And I find it very weird when people say, "Oh, you're an inspiration." It's sort of a bit of a strange thing. But if I could do anything like that, then yeah, great.
Super stuff. A lot of people in our chat are saying that they had you winning the Robbie Davis Jr. fight. And on that card as well, Philip Bowes got a win, didn't he, against Tom Farrell? You actually knocked him out in 2014. Is that something you would like to, go over old ground? Would you fight Bowes again?
Well, if it came up and everything on in terms is right, but I mean it's not. I'd do it again. But it's not a fight I'm chasing. I won the fight pretty comprehensively. Put him down a couple of times and stopped him. But he's a very good. He's a slick boxer, and obviously, I guess he's done well since he boxed. Obviously, he's Commonwealth champion now, and just obviously got that big win against Farrell. So I wouldn't be surprised if it comes up, or if it gets offered to me. But I just one of those, you'll have to see it. But I'm not chasing it, to be honest.
Good stuff. Just to remind our listeners, we've got Joe Hughes on the call. He's 17-4-1, 28 years of age. We were talking about his fight there with Robbie Davis Jr. Any social media presence or anything you want to plug, Joe?
Yeah, well, I'm on sort of all social medias at Joe Hughes Boxing. Trying to be more active. I ain't the best with all that sort of stuff. Trying to get a bit better at it, because obviously big boxing is part of the game now. That trying to sell yourself and everything like that. So trying to improve with it, but yeah, at Joe Hughes Boxing.
Go and give him a follow, everybody. In 2016, Joe, you went in with Jack Catterall, who was 14-0 at the time. He's obviously going on towards world level, which you were aspiring to yourself, looking at Maurice Hooker at one point. What do you think about Catterall? Do you think he can hang at the top level?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd say he's probably the best I've been in this as a pro, him and Anthony Riggett. But yeah, I think he definitely could. Especially if he just, keeps improving, keeps going. He's still only young, isn't he? He's 25 now, something like that.
Yeah.
He's been sort of high in the WBO rankings for a long time now, obviously picking up that Intercontinental title a while ago. Fair play to him. He's sort of taking his time, and I know, is that through his choice or how he's being guided, I don't know, but they're taking their time with him, and hopefully, that'll pay dividends down the line, and hopefully he'll win that title.
You mentioned your fight as well with Andrea Scarpa, going over to Florence, November on away soil, vacant European title. It was a huge win for you. It must have been a great experience.
Yeah, absolutely. It was the first time I fought abroad, that far away, and the whole thing was just, enjoyable. Just going over to Florence and, seeing the sights a bit, everything like that, being, just the whole experience. And then obviously the fight went really well for me. So, walking away with such a big title, like, the European title was, a huge boost to my career. And hopefully, I feel like I should still have the belt, of course. But, fingers crossed that opens up a few doors for me, and just shows that I'm all of my big fights I've been the away fighter. So, it would have been nice to win that and then come home and have a few where I was sort of on the home side of the card, but what can you do? I suppose just got to keep plugging on, haven't you? But hopefully on the back of those, winning that title and everything like that, it will just open the door for a few more big fights for me.
Hopefully so. Final couple of questions, Joe, and we do thank you for your time. Back in 2017, you went in against Tyrone Nurse. That was another one where you were probably unlucky. I think it was a split draw in the end, was it?
Yeah, it was, yeah. That was another one of those where I felt like I'd won, and the same as the Robbie Davis Jr. fight last week. Sort of 80-90% of people there thought I won the fight. Tyrone's a good lad. He's a slick, awkward boxer and everything like that. But I thought I did enough to win the fight, and that's sort of why, as we spoke earlier, I was questioning why it keeps happening, because that's it's the second time for the British title now that I've been in my mind stitched up, and it's just frustrating. I suppose, like I say, I'm a two-way fighter. I'm fighting the promoter's boy, a bigger ticket seller and a bigger commercial draw than I am. And is that the reason? And we all know that is a big part, that plays in the sport.
Yeah.
And it's just frustrating, and it is wrong. And I know boxing's a business rather than pro boxing's a business rather than a sport. But it's just when you're part of it and you're the one on the outside trying to break into it, it's just a bit, frustrating. And especially when it's sort of tried to be denied, if you know what I mean. The board won't ever, or wouldn't admit that their judges are swayed by those sort of things. But, as boxing fans, it's quite clear to see that whether it's subconscious or whether it's conscious, I don't know, but that they clearly are.
You've shown in the past, Joe, you're not afraid to come back and have a tough fight after a defeat. What's on the horizon for you? Where do you see yourself going next?
I'm not really sure, to be honest. We're just waiting and seeing what happens after that last fight. I'm obviously chasing the rematch would be an ideal thing for me, straight back in there with Robbie. I don't think it'll happen, but that would be, in an ideal world for me, would be my number one choice. If not, I don't know, just another big fight. I don't want to go back and fight anyone, that I'm always, expected to win, or on a smaller show or anything like that. I want to go straight back in there at, a good level. Maybe even Lewis Ritson, because I know they were talking about me or Robbie facing him. I know they were talking about the winner facing him. Whether Robbie will want to do that, I don't know. So there's a possibility for me to fight him. I know he thought I won on the night, Ritson himself. So maybe there's a possibility for me and him to get it on. I'm sure it'll be in Newcastle, and I'm sure it'll be the away fighter again. And I wouldn't be surprised if I go there, win the fight, and get turned over again. But it is what it is. I think that'd be a cracking fight. His style's obviously exciting and fun to watch, and got a lot of power and everything like that. And it'd be a tough fight, but why not?
Just a quick one as well. One of our guys has thrown in a question. What about Sam Maxwell, Joe? What do you think about Sam Maxwell?
Yeah, he's a very good lad. He's a very good boxer. He's a very talented amateur. That win, was it a couple of weekends ago, was brilliant. That was a brilliant one. He's very up and coming. I think over the next couple of years he'll be right up there. And yeah, he's a great talent.
Good stuff at Joe Hughes Boxing over on Twitter, everybody. JoeHughesBoxing.co.uk as well. More power to you, Joe. Really appreciate you coming on, and best of luck in the future.
No problem at all. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
No problem. All the best now. Cheerio.
Thank you. You too. Thank you.
Joe Hughes there, battling against the odds, literally. Yeah, we picked him to beat Robbie Davis Jr. We thought he'd done the business as well, didn't we, Andy, on the night, unfortunately for him. And a lot of people in the chat, Andy, thought he'd won as well.
Yeah, definitely. I'd actually tweeted out his comment there about saying, like, say, about Italy gets the decision and comes back home and gets turned over on the cards and that. And Stephen Hatton actually just tweeted me straight off the bat there. It's something I've actually forgot about. They actually only won a split decision in Italy. So they've done their best trying to hose him out there as well, So, but a good talker as well, actually. And, it was interesting, we tidbit about his disability as well, actually, because obviously the nosy party really wants to know how it happened and that, so it's good to hear that as well.
It was. That article as well with the Bristol Post was interesting because it very clearly made it out like he was sort of spitting out at the British board about the disability and that, but all the other stuff, once you add the context in, showed that he wasn't doing that at all. So there's the media for you, everybody. Also, talking to media, if you go on that particular article, I was flicking up and down, doing a bit of research today to find out a few bits and pieces about Joe. And the way these websites, these news websites, they embed tweets from people to sort of back up whatever they're saying. There was an embedded tweet in that particular article from none other than Andy Pops. So whenever the Bristol Post are looking to verify something and bring in the experts, they embed tweets from Andy Pops, who was tweeting about Joe Hughes on that night. So there you go, Pops. I know you listen to the show. You are the Bristol Post boxing expert there. So there you go. He might not even know about that. Talking of boxing experts, we've had a couple join us since Joe was on. We've had Rapping Rob Kelly, also Gabe Lewis. I'm not going to say anything from the weekend, guys, because I'm pretty sure you haven't seen what little boxing action there was. So I'll go to you first, Gabe, for our bits and pieces for next week. I don't know whether you have any interest in this, but I'll just ask you anyway, shall I? Minneapolis Armory over in Minnesota. Warriors boxing, Gabe. Who should we go with first? Peter Quillin against Caleb Truax, if that doesn't get the blood pumping. What about this? Sergei Derevyanchenko against Jack Kulkai. I actually think that's a pretty decent fight. Derevyanchenko, Kulkai, Quillin against Truax, USA, Fox Sports 1, Gabe. What do you think?
I mean, it's a card. It's better than we had this week, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Truax is a guy that you've seen before, and you know what you're going to get. With Quillin, you feel like you know what you're going to get. So I think for me, I mean, I don't think it's a great card by any stretch of the imagination. Why this isn't the undercard to something a little bit more enticing is kind of beyond me. But I guess they just have to fill dates. I think that's pretty much every promoter's dilemma these days is filling dates. They've got so many dates they have to. They're obligated to do so. I mean, I guess that's why it is. I don't really feel like either one of these fights is horrible. I mean, sure, we'd like to all see something better, something higher, what people would consider higher quality.
But Gabe, what about Derevyanchenko against Danny Jacobs? Because I seem to remember at the time you weren't that fussed on the fight the next day in the chat. I thought it was a pretty damn fine fight. A lot of people actually had Derevyanchenko may be doing enough to beat Jacobs. I didn't think so, but he came of age that night. I thought he looked like a pretty damn decent fighter in the middleweight division.
Oh, yeah, I think so. I don't know. I mean, I'm still kind of torn, I guess, on that front. I mean, I feel like there's some good things that he does, and just something about him just doesn't really, I don't know, doesn't really gel with me in terms of whenever I see him, considering him to be a top-notch fighter, someone that's going to stick around for a little while, that's going to produce high-quality fights. I mean, and that's not, that's not saying anything bad about the guy. Because if you look at it, most of the people that we watch, you can't say they're going to be the top-notch talent. It's just not how it works. But at the same time, it's me being honest, I'm kind of lukewarm on the topic, I guess. I don't know. The card is not terrible. I'll probably watch it. I don't even know what else is going on next weekend. But it's like I said, it's better than what we got this weekend, which was a whole lot of nothing. So to be honest with you, I mean, it could be worse. I suppose I can't really think of anything off the top of my head that would be worse than this, except for maybe I don't know, a Sergio Mora fight, but that's not going to happen now. So I guess we're safe. So I'll watch it, but I'm not thrilled about it.
No thrillage from Gabe, Rob. What about yourself, Peter Quillin, the big comeback? It's the most underwhelming comeback of all time, isn't it, Quillin? Against Caleb Truax as well. What can Quillin realistically do? Are they going to put these two together? Quillin's listed as super middleweight here. You wouldn't fancy him to beat Derevyanchenko.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to ask. Is it 68? Because Quillin's always seemed to me at least to be a bit of a big 160-pounder. I don't know what the crack is with Quillin. Like, I mean, to me, he kind of lost a lot of stripes when he ducked Korobov that time. Even though it was under Al Heyman's advice or whatever, I just thought, like, kind of epitomizing the sport. It was like he's getting paid so much, $1 million paydays with Uncle Al. The belt means nothing. Fuck the belt. Like, this guy's too dangerous. He could put a 0 on me record, or he could take away with the 0 off my record, and that's way more important than the belt. So I kind of was a bit sour on him then. Really enjoyed his fight with Andy Lee, but I thought he's in complete control of that fight for the first 4 rounds, and then gets cracked and completely went dead in the fight. And I think he's a bit gun shy. I don't know. I said this before on the pod. I just think he's a little bit gun shy ever since that fight and the Danny Jacobs fight. I don't know if we're going to ever see the best of Peter Quillin again, or if we ever got to see the best of him. Truax, he's not exciting, like, isn't he? He's very boring. He almost beat James DeGale 2 times, but DeGale has regressed a lot since the Battle Jack fight, as it's shown in the fights that he's had since. So it's an absolutely nothing fight. And to be honest with you, if there was anything else on next week, I don't even think we'd be talking about this. It's dog shit, isn't it? Like, 168 pounds Peter Quillin versus Caleb Truax. It's not like I'm going to be staying up in the middle of the night to see this one, or trying to catch a recording of it. I'd say probably Quillin knock him out. There you go. There's a bold prediction now. I think Quillin might knock him out in the second half of the fight. But I mean, I don't know. Is Peter Quillin going to challenge for titles at 68? Is he going to go up to 75? What's happening? Truax looking to become 2-time world champion. Who knows? Like, awful fight though, and awfully kind of an uninteresting storyline to go with it as well. Like,
that first on Derevyanchenko then, Rob. I like the look of him against Jacobs.
Derevyanchenko is okay.
He's cool with you, yeah?
Yeah, I'm not like, oh, I can't wait to see the next Derevyanchenko fight. You know what I mean? It's not like he doesn't do that. He doesn't excite me to the point where I can't wait to tune into every single one of his fights. He's all right. I'll pay attention to the results, but I didn't think I mean, he did okay against Jacobs, I guess, but nah. Unimpressed. I'm unimpressed. I didn't mind Bakole, actually. I watched the Bakole Vac fight.
Yeah, tell me about that then.
That was good. Like, Vac offered very, very little, did he, Marius? How do you pronounce his name? Is it Vac or Whack?
Whack.
Whack, yeah. Well, he was Whack. He was Whack.
Yeah, Andy knows that reference. I'm not going to say anymore.
Well, he was Whack, Wank, and whacked around the place last night by Bakole, wasn't he? Like, Bakole, I don't know. I mean, Billy Nelson a while back on the pod, I know he kind of got pelters after the Hunter fight. Maybe he's not that far away in his predictions to say Bakole could go on and get some silverware. I mean, look, everyone goes on about this new kind of renaissance era in the heavyweights, and it's back to the old days. It's like it's exciting. If you listen to Bob Arum talk, it's where you're getting the second coming of Ali, Fraser, Foreman, Norton, these kind of fights, but you're not. Like, you've got Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder, Anthony Joshua, and after that, there's not much really separating the rest of the heavyweights. You like your Joe Parkers, your Dillian Whites, your Big Daddy Browns, your fucking these guys. Like, I mean, you still get Bermain Stavern knocking around the place. So, like, they're really poor. Like, so it's not to say that you couldn't get up the rankings and eventually get a crack at a version of a title, especially if AJ was to lose at some stage and those titles all got kind of start getting broken up again. There's nothing to say that, you know, Bakole couldn't pick up a version of a title based on the heavyweight landscape. It's not really that good apart from the top three. In fact, it's probably awful apart from the top three. It could be one of the worst eras ever if you were to take those three top guys out of it. So, Bakole's a strong lad. Did everything he was supposed to do last night and got the stoppage over Whack. So, you know, we'll see him again now. But fuck me, like, it's Marius Whack was awful, wasn't he? Like,
yeah, he's like a big punch bag, really. Took his licks. Bakole marches on. Andy, what about in Germany next weekend? I know you'll be all over this one. Dominic Brassel, European light heavyweight title against Oriol Kolaj. I'm sorry, Andy, that I've even asked you about this, man. I feel guilty now.
I feel filthy if you even asked me that question.
As I was reading it out, I was just like, why am I even burdening him with this?
Exactly. I mean, but you expect me to make up some random shit about this guy. I've never seen the opponent. Is this a guy for Slovenia or something like that?
Possibly, but I've heard you mentioning Brassel in the past, so I know you are at least familiar with his body of work.
I think I mentioned him in relation to maybe Buatsi's winning last week, and that maybe like pushed him on. Brassel, he was the one that got knocked out of Karomura, I think, 2-3 years ago or something. Not seen much of him since. I know he did win against Quillin in his last fight. I've never seen anything about his opponent. Like, I've had to go and go. That's who it is. There's got to be his opponent's name there. That was Italian-based Albanian. Never seen him fight. Looking at his record here at the minute, I don't recognise anybody on here. The shit version of Thomas Adamic. That's it, really. Don't know what else, mate. I'd imagine Brassel will probably win out on points. I'll go out in the limb, and say that he's going to win it on points.
Are we focusing on the real fight that happened last night, where real men fought?
Oh, I mentioned it, mate. Lobov against.
Jesus Christ.
That was carnage, man, wasn't it?
What the fuck? I mean, first of all, the fucking fella that he was fighting, the fella that Lobov was fighting, is a jiu-jitsu guy. So I looked at I kind of, like, out of interest, I was like, I never heard of this fella. Like, is he an ex-pro fighter? He's obviously boxed at a very low level when you watch the fight. But fuck me, like, he's a jiu-jitsu guy, so he's not even, like, he doesn't even have a kind of a striking background. So it looked, I don't know if any of you saw it, like, but I watched it, it was fucking horrendous. Like, the standard.
Have you seen the pictures of them since?
Oh, it's horrendous. And, like, I suppose that's bringing up the whole, it's raising the whole point, like, why we have gloves in the first place. Like, it's fucking brutal sport. You can't be hitting each other with fucking bare knuckles, like, highly trained athletes hitting each other with bare knuckles. You're going to get fucking eye socket injuries. You're going to get career-ending injuries in that sport. Like, no fucking way that, like, it's all right. It's all well and good, Artem Lobov and fucking this guy Knight, who's a wrestler or whatever, knocking shades of shit out of each other. But if you're going to get ex-pro fighters turning pro and beating up guys where there's no kind of ranking level now. So Paulie Malignaggi, 2-time world champion, can face this guy in a bare knuckle. All right, Paulie can't punch, but what's to say if it's not like, I don't know who's a big puncher. Name a fighter. Name a fighter who's just retired from pro boxing at the elite level, gets offered a check to go into this sport. They could fucking kill someone. Like
Vladimir.
Horrendous.
The last one I can remember is Gabe Rosado fighting someone in some sort of big
Brian Vera.
Brian Vera, that's who it was, mate. I mean, that was like a go back to the 1800s, like London prize ring rule days, like Jack Broughton, for example. That was just carnage, man.
So I don't want to see it. Like I want to see an end to this fucking Malignaggi McGregor saga as well. Like this is, I know we'll probably get to that in the Bellews, but I just think it was awful. It looked awful. The standard was awful. There was no boxing. The two of them were just loading up on. It's just brutality. Like, and then to see it spilling over into the crowd, I think you're going to get that at that kind of event as well. But they want to be careful who they're bringing on the roster. It's all right, Paulie can't punch, but you get one of these guys who can punch with no gloves. Someone's going to go blind. Someone's going to get injured. It's not going to end well. Like, so I would hope to see an end to that BKP thing. Every time they try to bring it through in the States, it kind of spins itself out. So hopefully that happens this time as well, because I don't want to see it. I think it looks disgraceful. There's no science to it. It's just fucking horrendous. Like,
I think you're right on, Rob. Man, I watched that just out of curiosity with seeing Malignaggi and everybody talking shit and yelling at each other and everything, just to see what it was all about. And it was terrible, fucking horrible. I mean, I definitely get what they're aiming for. And they're aiming for 15 to 18-year-old demographic here of kids that want to be hard-ass street fighters and shit. I mean, that stuff was low level as fuck, but then also, I mean, why the fuck would you sign up to do that shit?
The brutality of it. Like, I mean, look at both of the I don't want to preempt that. The great Joe Joyce, the senior, the Traveller, says he left his opponent's face looking like a butcher's block. Well, that's what the two boys look like today. They look like they're after being in a car crash. Like,
that's exactly what I told Andy. I said it looked like they'd been in a fucking car accident.
Yeah,
I mean, all over the place and swollen. I think it's terrible. And if what's going to happen is some really bad shit's going to happen in that thing, and it's going to hurt somebody.
That other guy looked like he'd like, what was that ice hockey player way back before they had like the face guards on him. His face was all cut to bits. His nose is broken. He's got welts and slices all over his face. It's incredible.
Yeah, and that's Artem Lobev. Like, see, he's not even like an upper echelon MMA guy. I don't know what his striking background is, but it looked very much like just like that, like striking, like two guys having a straightener outside in the pub. Nothing off the jab, nothing off head movement, nothing. It was just rotten, like, to look at this rotten spectacle, and all it is a bloodbath. Like, so I really hope that ex-pro fighters don't kind of turn over there looking for a check, because something bad's going to happen.
I'm going to go for...
Okay, guys, let's get our second guest of the evening in on the call now. Delighted to welcome Bilal Rahman. How are you, Bilal?
I'm great, thank you. How about yourself?
Not too bad. Thanks for joining us. The guys were just talking there, Bilal, about this bare-knuckle thing from the weekend. What do you think about that?
Who was fighting on it? I don't...
No, I'm not familiar with the names either, but apparently this is a thing. Paulie Malignaggi wants to get involved in it. Is it something that would interest you? It looks a bit brutal, doesn't it?
Yeah, I have seen it. I have seen, obviously, Paulie Malignaggi, the weigh and stuff. I obviously don't follow it, but I've seen the press conference and stuff, the weigh, and I think it kicked off. But yeah, I think it's good. I don't think it'd be ideal for me, because obviously my hands are very brittle.
Yeah, well, so are Paulie's as well. You're boxing exclusively. What about MMA and UFC and all that type of stuff? Do you keep an eye on that?
The only person, obviously, everyone's done is Khabib and Conor McGregor, really. That's the only thing. But I don't, like I said, I don't really follow much except from boxing and football, to be honest.
Fair enough. There was plenty of beef beforehand between those two guys. Have you ever been involved in the old pre-fight beef yourself with anybody?
I was close. I was meant to fight. I don't know. The fight obviously didn't happen. It was Ryan Mulcahy in Liverpool. Obviously, it was for the Century Area belt, but he pulled out. Obviously, an injury he had 10 days before. But yeah, we had a beef. It was exciting. I was up for it. But yeah, he pulled out. So obviously, we didn't complete the full picture of it.
Yeah, we had Ryan Mulcahy on the call beforehand, and he was talking about the upcoming fight with you, saying how much he was looking forward to it. Would you still be up for taking that fight if it came around?
Is he still boxing?
I have no idea, to be honest with you.
Nah, I think he's inactive. I don't think he's boxing anymore. I think he's left the game. But if he comes back 100%, I don't think I'll be up for it. But he has to win someone now, because I'm obviously a lot ahead of him. It's been a while since he's boxed, so I don't think he'll take the fight with me now.
Just looking at your career, obviously you got off to a good win back in 2015 on your debut against a 5-0 opponent. No qualms against going in against somebody who'd already got 5 wins on his record.
Not a fear in the world. I don't care. Records don't mean nothing. Records are for DJs. So obviously I seen the guy box. Seen him fight. I didn't see no threat, so I took the fight, got paid, and got the win and came home.
Well said. 2018 fight with Lee Appleyard. Would you say that was your biggest win to date for the Central Area Super Lightweight title?
Yeah, the biggest win. Yeah, Central Area. Obviously, I was meant to lose that fight. I was an away opponent. This Lee Appleyard been some high caliber opponents. You know, fought for Commonwealth belts before. Been in numerous 10-round fights. I've never done a 10-round fight. I've never been in a title fight before, a big major one. So it was the first major belt I had to fight that would get my name up there. And to be honest with you, I won it quite easily. But not the scorecards obviously don't show that. But I won it quite comfortably, yeah.
Do you think the scorecards were a little bit too close for comfort for your liking?
Too close. A lot of people think I lost a round or two. That's about it, to be honest. But yeah, it was a good fight. It was perfect for my style. Came forward, I countered him all night, to be honest.
You're from Rochdale. Where are you training at the moment? Who are you training under?
I'm training him. It's not. He only trains me. It's called Ryan. But I'm training him. I've just opened my boxing academy. It's in Rochdale Town Centre, BTK Boxing Academy. So I'm just training in my own gym in the mornings and evenings. So yeah, that's where I'm based right now, Rochdale Town Centre.
How'd you get your sparring in and that? Which type of guys have you sparred with?
What, recently or just the high names I've sparred?
Yeah, anybody high names really.
Quite a few. Contractual, obviously, is number 1 right now, 140. Bradley Ski. There's a few, to be honest. But yeah, them two are the biggest names. Teddy Flanagan, I sparred him. Liam Taylor, he just be fighting for the British title soon at welterweight. So quite a few big names, to be honest.
Yeah, they are big names. Does that give you confidence then going in and sparring these type of guys and knowing that you can hang?
Kind of. But I know I can handle myself at my weight or a weight above me. No problem. I know I can take a shot. I know I can give a shot. So, you know, it doesn't give me confidence. It just gives me that experience I need to fight at the top level. I know I've got the confidence. I know I can mix it with a lot of people. Just need that experience, which I lacked in my last fight. That's all, to be honest.
Yeah, we'll talk about that now. We're just on the call here with Bilal Rekman. He's 12-1 with 3 knockouts, 26 years of age. Billy the Kid from Rochdale. Tell me about that one defeat then, Hakeem Ennis-Brown. It was on I think it was on IFL TV. It was a good scrap between you and him in Cardiff. What about from your perspective, how it went?
Yeah, it was a good fight. It was a risky fight. We knew that from when obviously they announced it to us. We knew it was a risky fight, but I'm all about risk. You got to fight these opponents to get somewhere. So I took the risk. I just think it was a close fight, to be honest. I don't think anyone could have got it. I just suffered a cut from the second round, but I just personally think it all comes down to Hakeem. I think Hakeem was a bit more experienced than me. That's all it was. He was a better man on the night. He was a bit more experienced, and I landed the better shots. He was the busiest fighter. But obviously, he's a champion. So to be the champion, he got very convincingly. But he deserved the win, so he got it.
Yeah, fair play to you. Well done for saying that. What about social media? We were talking off air there. You're a bit of an Instagram man. Do you want to tell the listeners where they can find you?
Yeah, Billy the Kid. So Billy there, and then Kid has got 4 eyes. So yeah, Billy the Kid. On Twitter, Bilarama _Bravo Romeo. Yeah, I don't use Twitter as much. But yeah, if you give me a stick, then I'll probably start using it.
Good man, you do that. I know you came on at short notice as well, so fair play for doing that. Final couple of questions for you before we let you go. Vasyl Lomachenko's fighting next weekend against Anthony Krolla. It looks like mission impossible for Krolla. What do you make of that one?
100%. No disrespect to Krolla, what he's achieved and what he's doing in this sport. A guy fighting in small horse shows and fighting the pound for pound great. So you know, full credit to him, but not in a million chance. Not in a million chance he'll win that fight, to be honest.
Do you think he'll go the distance?
I think it depends how Krolla takes it. If Krolla wants to go and fight him, win the fight, I think he'll get stopped. If he just goes there and just survive, and I think he'll just lose on points, to be honest. But I think Lomachenko's just number 1 right now, to be honest.
Yeah, he's an amazing fighter. Also in the pound-for-pound rankings, Terence Crawford. Amir Khan has one hell of a, fight on his hands as well. Maybe not the odds that Krolla has, but what do you think about Khan against Crawford? Do you think Khan might give him some problems with his speed early on, perhaps?
100%. Everyone's saying that obviously Khan, is in a struggle, but if you look at it, Khan's got 100% record against Southpaw, so that's something that Khan's got, and Crawford's a Southpaw, so I think Khan's got a good chance with speed. As long as he keeps that, if he has the same performance against Alexander he did as that Judah, I think he'll cruise the points to the decision. But can't stick to a game plan for 12 rounds. I don't know. I don't know if he lives the life or not. Obviously he does. He's out and about all the time. So if he's fit and healthy, do 12 rounds, I think he'll win on points, to be honest, and he'll shock a lot of people.
You mentioned Crawford as southpaw there. Obviously, he's a switch hitter as well. What happens if Crawford turns orthodox? Does that present a different set of problems to Amir?
Maybe, but then again, I think Khan's speed is too much. If he's fit and healthy, and he doesn't outgas himself, if he thinks a lot, which his boxing IQ is strong. But like I said, when he gets tired, he makes silly mistakes, goes to his bad habits, starts fighting with his heart, which obviously is known for. Fighting for the fans. You don't want to fight you don't want to fight for the fans when you're fighting a guy against Crawford. You want to fight for yourself and we'll get the win.
Finally, as well, Bilal, flying up to heavyweight. We all love a bit of the heavyweights. You've got Tyson Fury, you've got Anthony Joshua, and you've got Deontay Wilder. They are the big three. They're not fighting each other. That's what we want to see. Who is the best of the three? Who do you think will come out on top?
Who do you think I'm going to say?
Tyson Fury, I think you're going to say.
100%, always. Tyson Fury's number one for me. I've always believed in him. Even when he was fighting Channel 5, I always believed in Tyson Fury. People go for who's got six pack, who's got the muscle. But Tyson Fury's never had that since when he fighting Channel 5. But I always rated his boxing skill. The guy's amazing. 6'9", moves like a flyweight. It's just too good. It's amazing.
Just finally, a few guys in our chat are responding to your Amir Khan prediction. They're saying Khan looked terrible in his last fight. And another guy is saying that Crawford will knock him out in 7. So not much love there, Bilal, for your Khan prediction, unfortunately.
Well, Khan's had them critics since day one, so it's nothing new anyway. So, but yeah, obviously, the fight's close now, so we'll see what happens.
Well said, sir. Tell us about those social media again before you go.
Yeah, Instagram, Billy the Kid. Billy there, and then Kid, he's got 4 eyes. Twitter, Bilal Rahman _Bravo Romeo, and obviously Snapchat, Bilal BILAL _Rahman REHMAN. Yeah, take me up.
Top man, thanks for jumping on at short notice as well. Best of luck with your career going forward.
No worries. Thank you very much for having me. Thank
Cheers,
you very
Bilal.
much.
All the best. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bilal Rahman there, jumping in at short notice, ready to take on all comers, Andy, and he's picking Amir to do the business against Terence Crawford. That's something you two have in common, because you're going for Amir as well, aren't you, Andrew?
Yeah, what version of Amir are we talking about here? We're talking about Amir actually listens to the show. No, the other Amir can.
Forgot about him.
Yeah, look, to be honest, I can actually see Khan coming out early doors actually and probably winning the first couple of rounds like he did against Canelo, but I can't see it. I mean, I just think Crawford looks far better when he's fighting southpaw, or if he wants to start mixing up and stuff like that. That's more Mel. But I just think he's just going to leave that chin hanging in the air a wee bit too long and stuff. He might get a wee bit greedy. You never know. But I just can't see it, unfortunately.
No dice, says Andy. We've lost Dave Lowback. He said that he couldn't hear us, and whenever you're on the radio, that's a bit of a problem, I suppose. So we'll maybe get him back soon. Sam Solomon's back in action next Friday night. It's the career that just will not die.
So Sherman Williams, by the way.
I'll tell you what, Andy, he keeps on coming back more than a horror film. He's going in for the vacant WBF World Boxing Foundation, not to be confused with the World Boxing Federation middleweight title. 45, 14 and 1. Let's have a guess how old he is before I click on him. I'm going to say Andy is 45. What do you think?
He must be 50. I think he's about 50, Mark.
Let's have a look then, shall we? Ozzy, Sam Solomon, predictions?
48.
48. Let's have a look then, shall we? Sam Solomon is 45. There you go, the guru. I didn't actually know that's the He's 45. Born on 13th of November 1973. 45 Sam. He's had 62 bouts. Hang him up, please. Please hang him up, Sam. Will you? If you're listening.
I mean, as long as he's going to keep getting title fights and stuff, he's going to, and you know, he's clearly. I mean, have you seen the state of Australian boxing recently, man?
I've heard it's pretty bad.
It's worse than Germany at the minute, and Germany's actually got some decent fighters coming through just now, actually. But fuck me, I just I pulled up the card. That Michael Zarafa's on the card as well. 8-rounder.
Stripper. There you are. It's like watching paint dry, watching Michael Zarafa. Good luck to Sam Solomon anyway. Moving on, rapping Rob Kelly. Tony Bellew's in the news again. I wish people would just leave him alone. I've made my money and I'm not coming back, says Tony on his BBC Sport column. You know, he's writing for BBC Sport now, Rob, but just leave him alone. Liam Wynn has jumped in with a question, though, Rob, especially for you. Did Tony Bellew fight at the elite level during his career? Discuss, asked Liam Wynn. So did Tony Bellew fight at the elite level, Rob?
Oh, I think he did. I think it's fair enough to say he did. He fought Usyk at cruiserweight in his last fight, so they don't really come more elite than Alexander Usyk. Adonis Stevenson he fought as well. I wouldn't say he won at elite level ever in his career, but he definitely campaigned there. But leave him alone, will you? Just leave him alone. He's just trying to stay out of the limelight.
Don't read his BBC Sport column, Rob. That'll just draw attention to him.
He's also got this new fitness app out as well, with a hand grenade on it by all of a sudden. Go and say it.
It's in no way related to that grenade. It's in no way related to the terror attacks that Ariana Grande.
It teaches you how to cut £10 nice and easy now online.
We will never forget. But just leave him alone, man. Leave him alone. He doesn't have any interest in being in the public eye. His Twitter was hacked, so he's going through a rough time. Leave him alone.
It should also be mentioned as well as he is the king of vacant title wins along with Miguel Cotto.
Cotto, neither.
He's never been a champion.
I'm saying nothing about. I was going to bring up Cotto again, but I can't be bored with fucking Twitter hate I'm going to get, so I'll just leave it at that.
Leave it at that, Andy. Leave it at that.
Team Pink.
No, don't do it. Pink Tyson. She's coming back. Anyway, before we get to then that black hole, Gabe, let's go to a question. It was actually nominated by Jack Gabriel as Bellew of the Week, but I think it's a troll. It's by someone called Viva Canello, and it's quite an attractive-looking young lady, I think, trying to catfish in comments, and she's hooked in Jack Gabriel. She says, Ryan Garcia will end up being pound-for-pound #1. Being good-looking allows fighters to focus on boxing rather than focusing on moisturiser and hair gel to look good. Ryan is stunning. I dreamt about him last night, says Viva Canello. Now, she makes a good point there, Gabe, not about the hair moisturiser and gel and stuff like that, but about Ryan Garcia. I'm going to receive pelters here, Gabe, but I was watching Ryan Garcia's last fight against Jose Lopez. I was actually quite impressed. I thought he looked poised. He looked quick. He boxed well. He took a step back out of the way of Lopez. He looked quite wild whenever he had him going, but he is, 19, 20 years of age. There's a crowd of all these women at ringside screaming him on. I think Ryan Garcia is actually a pretty good boxer, Gabe. Discuss.
Before you drop a fucking oyster in your shorts, Steve, let me help you out with that one. Not going to happen. He can't fight inside. He's going to get knocked the fuck out by somebody that's quick and can pressure him inside.
He's pretty though, isn't he?
Oh, I mean, I guess so.
His missus just had a baby as well, and it's turning into an absolute shit fest as well, from what I was reading.
You see that he I mean, the audience that he pulls in, so he must be doing something right. Maybe I should take some fucking notes or something. But I mean, he's solid. You know, he's young. He has a lot of good things going for him. He's quick. He's strong. I think he really is pretty dedicated to fighting. I don't see, the same shit out of him that we see with Shakur Stevenson in his latest debacle. I mean, he's just out there acting like a fucking shithead, just like Broner and Tank Davis. He seems like he's for a 19-year-old got a decent head on his shoulders. And like I said, he's got the physical tools to do it. Whenever I'm watching him, I think his weakness right now is inside fighting. So I think if he meets up with somebody who can get inside and doesn't let him move around too much and get too much distance, which is going to be a task because he's got decent quickness as far as his footwork goes. But I think that's his weakness, and I think somebody can get inside on him and give him hell of a night. Of course, at this point, though, the motherfucker's going to get any decision that's even remotely close because he's with Golden Boy. So, you know, that's usually how that works. I don't know. I mean, I think he's going to be a good solid fighter for a lot of years. But I think he's going to, I don't see him being, again, that's a high measurement, being the guy for the sport, being the face of the sport. You know, I mean, it's not everybody that can do that. It's matter of fact, one or two guys at a time, maybe. And so just because he can't do that doesn't mean that he's not going to be a good fighter. Doesn't mean that he's going to not win his fair share of titles and go on and have some great fights and do some good things. But I don't know. I mean, I don't quite feel like he's there yet. But then again, you know, we've already talked about it. He is young. So he's got a lot of things going for him. I'd like to see him improve on his in game, because where he's at right now, it doesn't seem like if a fight goes that way, he's gonna fare real well with it. But again, I think that comes with experience. I think that's one of the most difficult things for fighters to learn. And you see a lot of guys that never really do get close to mastering it. You know, being an inside fighter is such a unique skill set, in my opinion, because it takes a lot of discipline. It takes a lot of willpower to get inside, to stay inside, and to fight there. You know, if you look at the guys that come through often, they like to fight further out. You know, those big punchers, they like to fight further out where they can get a lot of leverage on their punches. It's not every day you see a James Toney where the guy's a fucking wizard on the inside, you know. So it is a unique skill set. I don't like what I see from him inside right now, but I think he'll be just fine.
There you go, just fine, says Gabe. Yeah, I thought he was a little bit left hook happy. Obviously, left hook was the Oscar De La Hoya punch, but you can compare him to De La Hoya in terms of the fan base. He does bring in that demographic that doesn't generally associate itself with boxing. They're sort of teenage girls, you know, they're not generally boxing fans, but he does have the appeal of a De La Hoya, but not the ability, because De La Hoya, people seem to forget when they make these comparisons, was an amazing fighter. Very, very good. And Garcia, from what I can see, doesn't appear to be on that level, but he's going in the right direction. I like what I see so far. Talking of elite level fighters, Ozzy, question here about Dave Allen. Men's Luxury Fitness has thrown it in. Apparently, Derek Chisora has been revealed as an option for Dave Allen. Men's Luxury Fitness says, can you get any lower as a fighter than being an option for Dave Allen?
No, you can't. An option for what exactly? There are two. No, just no. Derek Chisora, even though he isn't peak Chisora, would absolutely destroy Dave Allen. Absolutely destroy him. You forget he was beating Dillian White, and then it basically got caught flush. So he's not that washed up. He'd destroy Allen. No, just no. The Rhinoettes put out some stuff on Twitter, and it infuriates me. People think he's this. I don't know. People just think he's better than he is, and there's nothing to suggest it whatsoever. I mean, this is a guy who's getting praised for training. He's getting praised for training for a fight. I'm sorry. Is it not what you should do? That is your job. Don't then go and heap praise on him and get the cameras out, Kugan Cassius camera in there. Oh, yeah, well done, Dave. This guy's actually training. He shouldn't be sanctioned. He shouldn't get a license if he doesn't train for fights and he admits he goes out there and, you know, he's just dossing around in back gardens and things like that. It's a joke. Absolute joke. I can't wait. Big Daddy Brown's going to come over from Australia in Perth, and it's going to be lights out for David Allen and the Rhinoettes, and they're going to run away back to Doncaster, and that'll be it for him.
Ozzy, sticking on a heavyweight theme, we'll go to you on this one as well. I then suggested to Mr. Luxury Fitness that Shannon Briggs had been in town calling out Derek Chisora. He's shameless, isn't he, Briggs? And Luxury Fitness said, who in the UK top 10 do you think then would Shannon Briggs still beat? And I was looking at the UK top 10. Obviously, you can write off Joshua, Fury, White. Joe Joyce would probably beat Shannon Briggs, wouldn't he? Chisora, Fury. Then we get to the likes of Nathan Gorman, Daniel Dubois, but particularly Dave Allen. What do you think about Dave Allen against Shannon Briggs? And what about David Price against Shannon Briggs? That's the lower end of the UK top 10.
It all depends what Shannon Briggs. Look, he can crack. He clearly can. But what is he now? He must be about 47. So I can't really give him an argument against anybody, to be honest. However, if he can still punch remotely hard, it genuinely wouldn't be shock me if he landed clean on Price, and that was lights out. However, at the same time, he could easily go over after one shot. I mean, I can't seriously back Shannon Briggs against anybody. Look, when did he last fight? Was it that Argentinian geezer on the David Hay undercard about 3 years ago? Was that his last fight? I don't
know. It must have been.
And then he got busted for doing PEDs again, I think, or something like that.
Who could have seen that coming?
Exactly, yeah. Looked in unreal shape and things like that. I mean, he's funny. He makes me laugh, Briggs. He just appears from nowhere and I mean, I don't know if promoters were paying him at one point because he was in the UK constantly just rocking up at press conferences.
It must have been Aussie. There must have been.
I think he had some serious momentum just from his social media presence and his publicity stunts that he pulled on Vlad before he got busted. Like Eddie Hearn held a meeting with him on camera. You know what I mean? He was considered a ticket seller, and I know from people close to him that he was very close to getting a Wilder fight at one stage. So I think after he got popped for steroids, the bubble burst a little bit there, didn't it?
Well, he's on about fighting again now, but I mean, I can't see. Like I said, what is he now, 47 or something like that? I mean, what's the point? Like, he'd bring publicity and stuff naturally because people find him funny and they enjoy the let's go champ type of thing. But being brutally honest, it's not a fight anybody's going to take whatsoever. And I can't believe he still wants to get in the ring because apparently he's invested his cash quite well and he makes decent money off things back in America. So I don't know, but I can't give him any, realistic chance against anybody, particularly at that age.
It's like what James Toney said about him when they asked him, when he was turning up and knocking Klitschko off the waveboard and everything, how would he fare against Klitschko? And James Toney said the brother nearly killed him. So what do you think Vladimir's going to do to him at this age? So...
Yeah, Shannon the Cannon lingers on. Back to Dave Allen very briefly. Editing King made a good point in the chat. He said, time and time again, Allen is afforded a platform a platform that people like Joe Hughes would die for, virtually throwing every one of those big opportunities away, then cause people highlighting it, quote-unquote, haters. So well said there from Editing King.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I completely agree with it. And he gets these opportunities because he's got banter and people think he's a man of the people because he was at ringside last week in a pair of ripped joggers and an old polo shirt when in reality back home he's got a wardrobe full of expensive Stone Island jackets and things like that. But David, the man of the people, Alan, just because he's wearing trampy clothes and things like that, people think he's this down to earth guy. It's all an act. It is all an act, and it riles me so much. He's a joker. He's the problem with British boxing at the moment. If you've got banter and you do a few tickets, you will get opportunities. Yeah, you will get countless opportunities. Yet people like Joe Hughes, for example, and other fighters like that, they are constantly on the road taking opportunities, probably for the money they get offered because they've no real negotiation power, and then they get jobbed on the cards. Like we say, he got the result in Italy, but they did everything they could to try and not, because, I mean, that's Scarpa had no business even having a split decision. And likewise, for me, I felt he beat Robbie Davis last week. And, I mean, there has been no talk of any sort of rematch when that was a close fight. And like I said, a lot of people scored it to Hughes, and there's been no talk of a rematch.
And the thing is about the rematch, Aussie, as well, it would probably take a while for Davis, the winner's face, to heal because he looked like he'd been hit by a bus.
Oh, yeah, massively, massively. And do you remember when it was Anthony Krolla and Jorge Linares won? Now, I felt Linares comfortably won that fight. Comfortably. And there was just, from nowhere, it just came out saying, we're going to get an immediate rematch. We felt Krolla won. Bullshit. Absolute bollocks. So Joe was right. It just proves if you can sell some tickets and you've got the backing, everything will be done for you to get opportunities and do it. If you don't have that, then you just go to the bottom of the pile and people forget about you immediately. Like I said, in my opinion, he should be getting an immediate rematch for this. An immediate rematch.
Go on, Andy. Have you got anything to throw in there, sir?
No, I don't really. I just agree with everything what Ozzy's saying, but as Joe was saying as well, British boxing's no fucking booming, right? I mean, this is going to be the second weekend now in a row. I think we've had no cards on. Is that right? Right in saying that? I think I'm right in saying that anyway. But or you know, if you're like mainstream Sky or whatever,
yeah, you're right. So, yeah, you're right.
But as you Del Boy Chisora, right? Millionaire, an antiques dealer, is going to fucking say, okay, I'll fight Dave Allen for what, washers. This is the guy who actually says to David Hay that he would fight him only if he doesn't need to fight for the money. They don't say to David Hay he'd fight him for £1, or he'd fight him, you know, he would fight Joe Joyce if he gave him his purse for the Bellew fight or whatever that. He said no, that sort of stuff. So Delbo should tell me to go fuck himself. Actually, see at the same time as well as about this Dave Allen. I hope, I seriously hope that Brown better be in shape for his fight, because if Dave Allen somehow turns over Lucas Brown, we're never going to hear the end of this shit. And Lucas Brown isn't fucking great. We all know this.
I'm picking Allen, man. I've seen this shit happen before, you know.
Well,
if Allen beats him, we're nailed on for that Chisora fight, because they can go, it's bad blood. It's bad blood. Del Boy likes to flip a table as well. Dave's banter versus Chisora, bad boy Chisora. You can see it.
Well,
pay-per-view towards the end of 2019.
We keep hearing, oh, I'm taking it seriously. I'm in training. I've had the final warning. I've spoke to Adam Smith. Eddie Hearn said to me and all that sort of stuff. I'm sorry, but if your name's not Dave Allen, who's doing all the rock sets and, you know, the bit on the Playboy channel, whatever it was and stuff, and put yourself out there tweeting and meeting the fans and all that sort of stuff, if you weren't all that, you wouldn't even be getting half, not even half, you wouldn't even get 3/4 of the opportunities that you're fucking been getting, man, or even quarter it, sorry. It's just disgraceful. And again, it's boxing. It's never as fair, is it? It's not about what you deserve or what you think you deserve. It's about what you can negotiate and what you know. And that sorry, man. I mean, I think after his last fight, you could see that, you know. I'm sorry, man. I really don't know why this keeps getting fucking recycled and stuff, and it's going to take another bad beating for him to kind of say, right, okay, that's enough. But at the end of the day, as well as, you know 2 years ago he had nothing. Now he's got property and stuff. So, you know, fair play to the guy. Eddie's made him, you know, made him a few poppy and stuff like that. But in terms of boxing ability, or, you know, fucking put them on like mainstream Sky and that, it's just not on. Sorry.
It's a joke. And do you know what? Like, as well, we've heard, like, over the last 2 years, we've heard about 6 times from Dave Allen taking it serious now. You know, this was the wake-up call I needed. Tony Yoga, this is the wake-up call I needed. The last fight, this is the wake-up call I needed. When he wore the Carrymore boots against Leroy Thomas, oh, this is the wake-up call I needed. How many fucking wake-up calls this fella's supposed to get? And he's just, you know, playing his career out on Sky.
Or that's saying, I've got all this untapped potential.
Oh, potential, yeah. I know what I can be. I'll have a conversation with Adam Booth on Eiffel. And I'll have a conversation with Adam Booth, the dark. Booth fucked him out as well, didn't he? After a couple of weeks, was like, get the fuck out of here.
It wasn't even a couple of weeks. I don't think he got bombed out within a couple of days.
He's not going to do it. He's not going to do it because he's a bullshitter. He's a bullshitter, but he's selling to the British public his story. You know, he's got an interesting story. Adam Smith's always on that one, isn't it? Dave Allen's, he's got a great story. Well, the story is, so far, he doesn't fucking train. That's the story. That's the only story I see. Like, he doesn't train, doesn't apply himself, but he loves getting his photo taken at ringside. Wasn't his excuse for the Leroy Thomas fight that, oh, he just went down, he expended so much energy just being with the fans the day before? Would you fuck off? Like.
Rob, are you trying to say he's the biggest joker since the original Dave Allen?
Yeah, he's not far off. Yeah, he's not far off, except that one was funny. You know, I don't know. I think Ozzy's right. Like, when you see fighters like Joe Hughes, or you see fighters that we know we know what they're going through just to be a professional fighter, and this fella's getting it all handed to him, and he's just like, bothered. Like, so I'm not going to bother training. Like, why should I train? I get another shot at it. Like, I got a house. You know, and it's good that he's made money. Good for him. But we, as we said before, we don't get to spend any of it. Like, so we just have to judge him as a fighter. And as a fighter, he's a joke.
Well, let's not speak too soon. Talking of potential, a matchup is brewing in my mind. Allen versus Allen. Tommy Guru Allen. If anyone's got good banter, I mean, give it to the Scotsman. I don't know if
hey, wait a minute. Tommy would like Gordon Strachan by him, getting fucking bombed off Sky. If he put him on it, I'm telling you right now.
Yeah, he would probably say something that, like, Adam Smith, I do apologize for, but like,
Gordon Strachan's going to. Well, I like to call me Chesney. He's going to be going back to Coronation Street looking for employment shortly. Actually, I'm telling you right now.
Who would be in worse condition though, Dave, between Dave Allen and Tommy?
Tommy's. Well, apparently Tommy's shed some weight, so he might not even be a heavyweight anymore. But we know Cash Ali's getting another shot after biting Dave Price. Tommy.
Another shot at what?
Well, another shot under Eddie's.
Pigeon shooting or something like that.
Another shot under one of Eddie's shows. So I mean, Tommy Allen's biting record shouldn't hold him back.
That tells you all you need to know about the depth of talent or roster or whatever word I'm looking for here. Eddie Hearn's fighters. Like, he's bringing Cash Ali back in after that shit fest that he put up.
Publicly humiliated himself. Yeah, publicly humiliated himself.
Well, here's a fight for you, Dave. Eddie said that he would give Curtis Harper another chance after he exited the ring prematurely against F.A. Ajagba. He said he would give Cash Ali another chance after he bit David Price. What about Curtis against Ali? See if Ali could bite him before Curtis got out of the ring.
How about Ajagba versus both of them at the same time?
Yeah, well,
how about they have it in Liverpool and they give 2 drinks for the price of 1 at happy hour, so you have enough beers to throw at Cash Ali when he gets thrown out of the ring again. I'm just an ideas man, you know what I mean? I'm like a wedding planner. After I get to the altar, after that, you're on your own.
I'll tell you what, if there's 7 Budweiser, they should throw the fucking keg at them then, because that stuff pish water.
Right, let's move on, Dave. A fight with you. No, not a fight with you. A fight for you to discuss, in fact, next Saturday evening. We're talking about Clarissa Shields against Christina Hammer. 4 belts on the line. Shields is 8-0. Christina Hammer is 24-0. I'm not a big aficionado when it comes to women's boxing, but I'm actually quite looking forward to this one.
Shields is a quality fighter, and it's rare that you can say that about a female boxer. And I'm not trying to shit on women. It's just like the gulf in power and the conditioning and the punch absorption. I mean, you see top refs stop a woman fight if they take so much as a combination. And I mean, fair enough, because a lot of them do one out after a combination. We saw actually, was it on the undercard of Smith versus Eggington? There was a Natasha Jonas had a comeback fight, and her opponent looked like she'd been like picked up at a homeless shelter. It was actually sad. It's the state of women's boxing is not great. What I was talking about was Clarissa Shields. She actually fights like you see more male fighters fight. She turns into her punches.
She has a man though. Look at her, man. She's a fucking beast.
Have you seen her nudes on ESPN? Body issue. I didn't see any dick.
It might be a micro penis.
Maybe she had the procedure that Kelly Maloney did. No, but I don't think she's a man. I think she's just a very dedicated athlete. I don't agree with a lot of the shit she posts on Twitter. She seems to always score for the people who she likes instead of...
No. Say it, Dave. The black fighter.
Well, yeah. Or the Flint fighter. Great job, Unk. But
it's a shame she didn't drink too much of that Flint water, by the way.
You wouldn't want to be kind of, accusing anybody of anything in the wrong, but if you look at her, trying to make a case for Broder and Pacquiao, you might be onto something. You know what I mean? She was very disappointed in AB. She thought the fight was there for him if he had to let his hands go. Not that he lost every second of every round.
Yeah, her Twitter is awful, but she's a very good athlete, and she won the Olympics both times with ease.
She's good for Bellew of the Week, though, Dave.
Yes,
she's a good contributor, solid. And
I mean, since Bellew of the Weeks began, I actually ended up being a fan of Bellew. So we'll see how she evolves. I imagine she's going to knock this girl out. She's unlike most female boxing athletes you ever see, really. And I imagine she'll beat the first lady. What's her name? Brackus, the one that Tommy was trolling. Yeah, I imagine she'll beat her easily too, especially since she's on the way out.
Yeah.
I don't think either one of these opponents, Hammer or Brackus, can take the kind of power that she throws. She's not a light puncher, really. It's just like most women don't hit with power. Ann Wolfe is a rarity.
Dave, you've done some job on previewing this card. I didn't know what you were going to come up with, but fair play.
I might actually even watch it.
I'll be asking you about it either way next week, whether you've watched it or not, so you better be prepared.
Okay, I'm Facebook friends with Clarissa, so maybe I'll send her a DM.
Is it on in the UK next week?
I don't think so. It's Showtime in the States, Aussie, I think so. I'm not sure.
All right. I didn't know if Box Nation had picked it up or anything like that.
No, they're probably showing some IBO Azerbaijan clash.
They actually picked up a decent card. What was it? Oh, bastard. It's in a couple of weeks' time. It's actually a pretty decent one. I forgot. I'll try and find it. But it was good for Box Nation. It's a good card worthwhile watching in America. I can't remember which one.
I'd watch the IBO Azerbaijan clash over fucking Clarissa Shields any day.
Well, you know what, Rob? You don't have to worry about it because Box Nation's on the way up. Go and subscribe, everybody, says Aussie. I'm coming to you on a different fight, Rob. We spoke about this last week when our friend Conor Brennan jumped in with a question about Dennis Hogan. He's going very much into the lion's den against Jaime Munguia. He's fought up at a higher weight, Hogan, so he might be able to have the size, not the height, to keep up with Munguia. A few fights of interest on the undercard, Diego De La Hoya, Patrick Teixeira, but it's all about Munguia against Hogan. He's out again. He's certainly active, Munguia.
Yeah, they're kind of building him steadily to be a kind of a replacement for Canelo, aren't they, as a Mexican star? Golden Boy very much behind him. I'd say Dennis Hogan's going to have his work cut out from fighting Munguia. Huge 54-pounder. I said before, I think he's like a 68-pounder fighting at 54, and I don't even know how he makes 54. Him and Jared Hurd are kind of freaks of nature. So Hogan's kind of boxed, had most of his pro fights in Australia, so you'd imagine that this is going to be a big step up for him. And I'd say he'll come out on the worst end of a stoppage after maybe 8 rounds. He might be a 60-pounder himself fighting at 54, but Munguia is a big lad, like a big frame, can thump a little bit. So I'd say Hogan will be doing well if he can get past 8. But good luck to my fellow countryman. I hope he can do it, but I can't see it.
Rob, if you had to go out for drinks one evening with a Hogan, who would you pick? Paul Hogan, aka Crocodile Dundee, or Hulk Hogan?
Yeah, probably Paul Hogan. Like, it's not a knife. I can't really do an Australian accent. It drives me mad. I'm not able to do it. Like, but yeah, Crocodile Dundee. For Crocodile Dundee 1 alone, I'd go out with Paul Hogan over Hulk Hogan.
You know what going out with Hulk Hogan would be like. Probably get a sex tape and he'd be like, "Hey brother, let's go mug some black people."
Yeah. I don't know if I could get down with the Hulk after his past. Like, just a creepy old man in general. Have you ever saw that reality show that he was in? It's just like shed him in a new light for me. Like, what a weirdo. Paul Hogan's held himself together reasonably since the 1980s success. So hopefully...
Hulk Hogan pumped his daughter's pal, by the way. That tells you all you need to know about the guy.
And I'm not even going to say what I was going to say there. I'm going to let that one slide.
Retracted, Rob. Retracted. Retracted on air from Rob Kelly. Jacob Hemley in the chat, and also Aussie in our chat has told me that Box Nation, have picked up Shields and Hammer. They've also picked up Bechelt against Dogbo. So Box Nation very much on the rise. There was something else I was going to mention. Can't remember what it was. So we shall move on to more important matters next week. I've got a few Dom McNamara questions. We always love a good Dom McNamara question, so I'll save that for after we talked about the big fight next week. Gilberto Ramirez against Tommy Carpensi. 39-0 Ramirez is. Can you believe it? 39-0, and he's fought absolutely nobody. He's a ticket seller. That's why Bob is keeping it nice and easy. Arnold Barboza Jr. is in action on the undercard, 20-0 against Mike Alvarado. It's all about the main event, though, Andy. We mentioned it to El Bilal earlier on. Vasyl Lomachenko against Anthony Krolla. The only interest in this fight, to me, is whether Lomachenko stops him or not. I'm looking for Lomachenko to put his foot on the gas towards the second portion of the fight and look to get rid of Krolla, because I'm not going to come off with the cliches, nice guy, etc., etc. I'm not interested in seeing Anthony Krolla fight Lomachenko. Fair play to him. I hope he gets paid. I want to see better than this. Lomachenko, get rid of him and move on.
I don't care if who gets paid in that, because none of the money's going in my pocket and stuff at the end of the day. But we all know what it is. This is a political move. Clearly, he'll be getting well paid for it. It's a mandatory defence for Lomachenko. I don't know what else I can say, but I suppose the only thing we can really say or kind of look forward to the fight is, can he be competitive at some point in the fight? I don't see it. as I've said in the past before, I think only the arrogance of Lomachenko can really defeat him. Either that or he goes up too far in weight, which by sounding off his previous comments stuff, I don't think we'll see him go up any higher in weight. Actually, in all honesty, he shouted Mikey Garcia really for kind of doing what he did against Errol Spence or lack thereof. I suppose it's the old saying again. I mean, we're going to get it. We're going to hear it, sorry, off Adam Smith if he hears the final bell and that. He's been oh so very brave for the last 12 rounds with one of the pound-for-pound bests. I suppose that in itself is going to be the only kind of keen victory here unless we get a freak stoppage, freak knockout, and Krolla somehow upsets the odds. I mean, if he does win it, I dare say it's probably going to be classed as one of the biggest upsets in recent boxing history anyway. So I just can't see it. I think Loma probably stops him probably between 5 and 8 rounds or something. Maybe even sooner, actually. I really don't know. But Krolla's generally tough. He's in good shape. But well, he's always in good shape anyway. But I just sorry, I just can't see him being competitive. Or it might be, as I say, it might be one of the nights where Lomachenko decides to take a night off and he lets it become close, which I don't think so. I can't see that. It's just like a guy his ability should be dealing with a guy like Krolla, and Krolla is, I don't know if he's world level or no. I know he's mixed to some fighters at world level and that, but he's no elite. He's probably borderline world level. But I've always said that if he somehow could maybe make himself a 130 fighter, which really that's what he was. Really, he's obviously bulked up and built himself into lightweight and that. But I think if he'd remained at super featherweight, there's probably a better chance of maybe picking up a title there, or more titles there, because the division at one point was kind of threadbare. But no, I'm going to go Lomachenko between 5 and 8, if not sooner, and then hopefully we can get some more unification fights made with other champs and stuff. We don't know what's happening with Garcia at 135. I don't see him coming back down in weight, especially that low in weight anyway. He'll probably be at light welter. So you're kind of hoping that the Richard Comey fight gets made at some point in the future as well. So if not, we're going to be looking like some Luke Campbell, maybe Teofimo Lopez. I like to see that fight actually, because I don't think I think Lopez is on borrowed time at 135 in terms of the weight. So and he's talking a good game. He's talking it up anyway. So probably not get that fight on. The guy's getting a lot of hype. He's a touted prospect. And you've got Lomachenko, who's this pound for pound, great fighter. So I like to see that fight get made, or maybe even Devin Haney. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't give either much of a chance, Gabe, but Teofimo Lopez is very vocal about wanting the fight. He said he wants to beat Edis Tatley, which I believe he will do, then push himself into position to fight Richard Comey, who we believe he will be back around June or July time. We know of Comey and Lopez will possibly then fight Vasyl Lomachenko. Lomachenko himself, Gabe, says he wants to unify the lightweight division before moving down in weight. That's all by the by if he doesn't get past Anthony Krolla. What do you expect in this one?
If he doesn't get past Krolla, then I think there's going to be a lot of shocked people.
Hang up the gloves.
What's that?
Hang up the gloves if he doesn't get past Krolla. Do you think retirement's on the horizon for Lomachenko?
Quite possibly.
That's a bold claim, Gabe.
You're asking me, right? Or I'm sorry, Steve. I'm kind of lost here. I was listening, and then you asked the question, and I'm like, you're asking me the question about Lomachenko getting past Krolla?
Gabe, me coming at you is like Lomachenko coming at an opponent. I'm ducking, I'm diving, I'm behind you before you even know, confusing you with these moves. Lomachenko is going to get past Krolla, isn't he? I don't want to look too far ahead, though, because you never know in boxing, Gabe.
I will stop short of just betting the farm. That's how far I'm certain. It's one of those things that's, golly. I mean, for Krolla to win that fight, do you know what alternate universe we have to live in for that to happen? I mean, you never can say never. Of course, it's boxing and shit happens all the time. But I mean, for him to actually win it, a 12-round decision or a knockout would be mind altering. It would just melt my brain. My brain's melting right now just even thinking about that as a possibility. I guess I think I would prefer to answer on the other stuff. I think the fight that I'd like to see would be for him to unify the division and take on everybody there, because I don't think he can move up anymore. Honestly, I think if he moves up again, it's going to be risky and it'll be a very calculated effort. I just don't see him moving up with a lot of success and not getting into some dangerous fights. And since I think Top Rank and Bob Arum view him as a cash cow, I just don't see any way possible they'll let him move up unless it's a very calculated move up. I mean, you know, he's a fucking adult. He's not growing anymore. Maybe at the latest stages of his career, depending on how everything shakes out, he might go up a little bit further. But I mean, that would be again a very calculated move, as far as I could tell from where we're sitting at right now. I mean, but I enjoy the guy's fights. You know, I was thinking about it. I mean, what do you do when you're fighting somebody like that? You know, you saw some success of other fighters in his other fights, but I mean, it's so fun to watch. I mean, it really is just something to watch. Of course, anybody can get beat, and there's always going to be somebody out there that claims they can do the trick, but I don't see anybody in the division right now that's available for a fight that's going to give him a good one.
Gabe doesn't see anybody giving him a good fight, Rob. 22-year-old Irish amateur Stevie McKenney gave him a good fight in sparring anyway, so that's good experience for the young fella going in against one of the top pound-for-pound boxers.
Yeah, priceless for him, and hopefully he can draw some stuff from it. I can't see... There's no hope of Krolla even putting in a performance against Lomachenko. No hope. No hope in Bob Hope. Bob Hope was dead. It's such a one-sided fight. And we were all kind of disgusted when we saw that was going to be the mandatory. Like, Lomachenko is levels above Anthony Krolla, light years ahead of him, and he should stop him. And I think he should stop him maybe on the under. He might get him out of there before 6 rounds. I think he's going to be in the mood after his last fight against Pedraza, where he got the first bout of criticism since the Salido fight. And I think he'll be determined with a point to prove, and I think he'll just want to get the Krolla fight out of the way, and I think he'll look for a short night's work. It'll be combinations from all angles. It'll be uppercuts. It'll be oh so very brave, as Andy said. And it's going to be a one-sided beatdown.
More Rocky fielding against Canelo, then, says Rob, than anything else.
I'm thinking more like, oh, thanks for turning up. You know, he was up against it. And we knew it was going to be tough, and it was. And Lomachenko is this, that, and the third. And he's also very brave, and he can look at his story, look where he's come from to fight against the elite faster Lomachenko. But that's going to be about as exciting as it gets, because Lomachenko is going to just pace them.
Rob, on a tangent, you know I love the tangents. Do you remember whenever Rob Gorman sparred Floyd and hurt his ribs ahead of one of Floyd's fights or something? Rob Gorman was a good fighter. I remember seeing him go in with Ray Moylett in the amateurs. I always thought he had a good pro style about him. Yeah,
his story is somewhere online, actually, where I think in the kind of build up to the McGregor fight, he was sought out by journalists as the only kind of Irish guy or whatever that's been in there with Floyd. Like, so he gave his story. He said he hired Floyd. Yeah, he gave him a good tough spar, but you know, there's levels, and fellas can have a good day and a bad day in sparring. It's about doing it over the course, isn't it?
Yep, certainly is. Back to Lomachenko, Krolla, hater Dave Lowback. Let's get your opinion. Anthony Krolla has said that he won't be in awe of Lomachenko, but at the same time, Igor Klimas, Lomachenko's manager, says that he thinks his man is at his peak. So you're not only going in against Lomachenko, you're going in against what we think, hater Dave, is a peak Lomachenko. It's going to be tough.
Well, how the hell does he know he won't be in awe until he's in there seeing it and experiencing it and losing every second of every round? And you hear Adam Smith in the background screaming, "But he's worked so very hard for this," because there's nothing else good you can say about him. I think he will be in awe, and he'll probably be having his hands at home as he gets battered. Fuck the WBA for making this mandatory. I assume they were bribed. We all know their sanctioning bodies are fucking corrupt. Fuck the WBA in every way. possible for this garbage. It's a total waste of Lomachenko's time and a waste of the fans' time, except for, I guess, fans of Krolla who want to just see him in there for reasons unknown, because there's honor in getting a shot. There's honor in losing to the better man. But, I mean, it's just a waste of time. In saying that, it could still be somewhat fun to watch because against a guy like Krolla, I don't think he has to worry about being hurt. I mean, you always got to respect your opponent to a certain degree, but I don't think he's got to worry about the punch. He's not going to worry about the speed. And he'll be in there and he'll be able to just play with him, and he'll probably look real good doing it. It's a good showcase opportunity for him to look like the Matrix. So like you were saying earlier about the possibility that he might say, oh, I can just take a night off and just phone this performance in. I don't think he'll do that. I hope he doesn't do that, because that's the only redeeming value this fight could possibly have, is watching him at his best toy with a guy. Otherwise, this is pointless.
The breeze blocks Dave used to make this building are in no way connected in any way to the breeze blocks used to attack Anthony Krolla. Someone was asking there in the chat, actually, about the head injury, about how he's getting a license and stuff, but I suppose we're quite far removed from that now, aren't we? Is that still a thing?
Long ago. He's been punched in the head a lot since then. He fought Linares both times after that, right?
Yeah. Have you ever been sparked out cold, Dave?
Me?
Have you ever?
No.
No?
Not except by the drink.
No.
Only once, really.
Never mashed up on the streets of Pittsburgh, no?
Pittsburgh, I've only been there like twice. I live on the other side of the state.
There you go. Dave dropping it in there. Ozzy, we haven't been to you yet, have we? I was looking online earlier, as you tend to do before these big fights, and Lomachenko apparently is getting $2.2 million for this fight. You'd go and beat up somebody for $2.2 million, wouldn't you?
Without a doubt. Yeah, without a doubt. 100%. If someone wants to pay me $2.2 million to go and beat somebody up, then send them my way. Without a doubt.
What about Krolla then? We don't know about his purses, but he'll give it a go.
He will, yeah. And look, it's a mandatory. He's worked his way there, if you were to call it. I mean, he's had one fight against that... he was at Jordan, something like that. I can't remember his name. Look, he's been presented this opportunity. It's topping up his pension. I don't think it'll be a career high payday, but it'll be decent. I just don't give him any hope whatsoever. I mean, it says it all when you've got his trainer saying, "Oh, look what happened to Ryan Burnett, and look how Terry Flanagan won his world title." Well, Burnett did his back, and Jose Cepeda dislocated his shoulder.
Is he waiting for the fan man to come in, Joe, or something?
If that's what you're pinning your hopes on, in that Lomachenko's going to roll his ankle, and he could probably still do that and win anyway. You really are on a hide into nothing.
Lomachenko done his fucking shoulder against Linares, who was probably classed as top one in the division at the time. He still fucking knocked him out with one arm.
Oh, exactly. He will. This is a huge mismatch. This is on levels of Brooke Bizier and Brooke Jojo Dan and worse ones than that. Look, I'm not going to slate Krolla. He's in a mandatory situation. He's not going to turn it down, but it's just a fight that I just don't give him any sort of chance of winning, in my opinion, and I think he'll get stopped inside. Probably 6 to 8 rounds. I think it will end up brutal to watch. You know, he'll end up just taking so many shots, and Lomachenko will just pick him off and hit him from all sorts. And I just think it'll end up being basically a one-sided beatdown. And will Krolla continue after that? I'm not too sure. Did hear a couple of things which might line up a potential all-Manchester fight further down the line if he does continue. But again, I wouldn't be shocked to see him walk away after Friday night either as well.
Yes, you never know. Paul Massingham's been in touch regarding a subject close to my heart, actually. He said, I know this sounds a bit random and I know there isn't a great deal of boxing to talk about, but I've noticed every time Bob Arum talks, I'm sure he's the voice of Rockbiter off The Never Ending Story. So Paul Massingham jumping in there with the cutting edge analysis. So on the undercard, very briefly from you, hey, to Dave, because I don't want to dwell on this. What's going on with Gilberto Ramirez? He's 39-0. I said he's a ticket seller. They're probably looking to build him up and put him in against someone like David Benavidez. I believe that's why Bob Arum wanted to sign him. It's such a pointless career. He's moved up to light heavyweight. What can we garner from this fight, which Ramirez is having against Tommy Carpensi, Dave?
Jeez. Well, earlier you did say he fought nobody, and that's not quite fair. He fought the great Jesse Hart. Fought totally shot Abraham. I would say yes. I agree with you. Pointless for the most part is the best thing I can think to say about this career so far. And if he fights Benavidez, he'll get his shit rocked. So I would look forward to that. But then at the same time, it's like I would rather see Benavidez fight other guys. I'm sure whenever he does it, if he ever, I'm sure it'll be for some strap. So maybe it'll be a part of the path to Benavidez unifying the division, or at least fighting other better guys. But yeah, Ramirez, I can't even express how much I don't care.
Yep, thanks, Dave. He's up to light heavyweight now, so maybe he'll fight for the old Warren and Bob's organisation title up there. I think the Benavidez fight has slipped away. Let's get on to Belly of the Weeks, and then we should also slip away for the evening. Quite a packed roster. There's a couple of real crackers. I think I know what I'm going for, but you never know. My mind might be changed throughout the course of the evening. Erislandy Lara has nominated Paul Speak. This is Ricky Hatton's PR guy, apparently, expressing his desire to do Scott Fitzgerald. I'm wondering if Paul was the person behind the camera and Ricky Hatton was gagged and bent over, asks Erislandy Lara. Paul Speak, obviously typo, tweeted Scott Fitzgerald and said, "Follow me so I can do you, please." So there you go, Paul Speak getting involved, not even bothering to slide into DMs. I think it was deleted shortly after. Ben Thorns has nominated Chris. Here we're on to now. Chris Eubank Jr. is currently in the US spending a 2-week experimental period with trainer Virgil Hunter. He is open to potentially joining him long term and said his biggest success was Andre Ward, and I can see some similarities in our style, says Chris Eubank Jr. Yeah, whenever I think of Eubank Jr., I often think of Andre Ward. So yeah, that does make sense there. Ben Thorns nominating that for Bellew of the Week. Also, Danny Mayfield has been nominated as well. BT Sports were tweeting out a bit about the Crawford versus Khan fight. I don't care what anyone says. Amir Khan beats Crawford every time, says Danny Mayfield. Crawford is overrated. At the Bantams, 1903, nominated Mr. Mayfield for that. Okay, Greg Cross has nominated Asgi. This Asgi is always on the case, isn't he? Gonna say it again, says Asgi. The hardest hitting puncher out there right now is Tyson Fury. Mix speed with power and add a mix of boxing IQ equals Tyson Fury. Yeah, this Asgarter, you call him. Quite the character, that guy. A nomination for him. Declan Graffin, first Michael Buffer and now Rampage Jackson, likes the look of a Scott Fitzgerald against Brian Rose fight. This looks like a good matchup, says Rampage Jackson. I'm going with the Tank, aka Brian Rose, versus Scott Fitzgerald. Tags in Matchroom Boxing and Eddie Hearn. I don't know who Rampage Jackson is, why he's getting involved.
Is that the UFC fighter? Is that the actor was in the A-team?
That's not the real Rampage, is it?
He played B.A. Baracus in the A-team. It's hardly the real him, is it?
Can't be. Surely no.
I have no idea.
Saying that though, he's punch drunk to fuck that one. Like I remember. Listen, you can't. I didn't watch UFC, but I used to watch Pride a fair bit back in the day, and that I think it was Mikko Krokop or I don't know if it was Vanderlei Silva. Absolutely fucking volleyed him in the face.
Vanderlei Silva nearly killed him.
I nearly fucking murdered him, by the way.
And back then they were all on the roids.
Oh, it was great.
You would see him pick people up and throw them like 10 feet in the air.
Power bomb people, like literally pick people up for like a lying position on the ground, pick them up and fucking smash them into the fucking canvas. It was amazing.
Good times, Andy.
Oh, amazing times, man.
Good times. Talking of Andy, he's nominated one here on Twitter. Well, he put up the news, the great news. Conor Benn has gone from 10th to 6th in the WBA rankings in 3 months, and he hasn't even fought. Mendoza says prime Tyke Myson, the gift that keeps on giving. Bellew of the Week for the WBA president. This is amazing, Andy. Conor he's that good. He's gone from 10th to 6th in 3 months.
Yeah, and Josh Kelly goes up with him as well, and he fucking ducked fights.
Just goes to show that sanctioning fee money, what it can get you.
Just shows you that business class train trip with Mendoza and Eddie Hearn came up trumps in the end, I suppose. I mean, Krolla miraculously became WBA manager, for fuck's sake.
Imagine Conor Benn fight one of the top 5 welterweights, seeing as he's in at number 6. Imagine Fucking hell.
Wouldn't be pretty. Wouldn't be pretty at all. Yeah, and the Josh Kelly thing, I'm not going to go down. I'm not going to get involved in this, but yeah, the fact that his next opponent, who they're talking about, says to me that definitely they have an SCM fight. There's definitely something going on there, given the level of opposition he's going in next. I'm going to leave it there anyway. Andy, you've nominated this one. Ricky Gravel was bringing it to our attention. Max Kellerman put up his top 10 for ESPN. Old Svisaket Sorungvisai was at number 8, and friend of the pod, Clarissa Shields, jumped in. Who is number 8? She'd never even heard of him.
Yeah, I got even tagged her into a tweet later on that. She says, he's your number 8, pal. Oh my God.
I mean, the same way.
I can't wait till she gets knocked out, by the way. That is an absolute pain in the hole, that one.
Yeah, let's hope for hammer time next week.
I'm not confident, to be honest. I'm not confident.
No, neither am I. She's chinny as fuck, that one. Like,
yeah, she's gonna splatter her shield is early, I think. There we are, women's boxing experts here on the Asylum. Ben Thorne's nomination for Paulie Malignaggi and that slap, what a weapon. He's masturbating all over social media that he slapped a guy who didn't expect it. Hope he gets laid out cold in whatever circus event he's appearing in next. Well, like we said earlier at the top of the show, guys, given it's this BKB thing, it's not going to end well for Paulie.
It's fucking mental. This story is not getting enough attention. The fucking side, like, this is like single white female with Malignaggi and McGregor. Like, it's the fucking worst spin-off sideshow in the history of boxing spin-off sideshows. Somehow we have Paulie Malignaggi getting ready to fight Traveller-style bare-knuckle against the Russian lad that's based in Dublin, who's part of McGregor's camp. And you want to hear Malignaggi after he slapped him, he said, "Bro, I will literally kill you. I will literally kill you. I'm going to fucking murder you." I'm like, what the fuck is going on? It's like a bad fucking audition for Goodfellas. I thought you said you were all right, Spider. Fucking hell, man. It's cat. I don't know what's going on. Like, the world has gone fucking crazy. Like, that's if Paulie Malignaggi is going bare knuckle snatch style with Artem Lobov in 2019, the world's gone fucking mental, man.
It's all down to social media. You have Rampage Jackson calling for Fitzgerald against Rose. You've got Shannon Briggs trying to get in on a fight with Derek Chisora. It's all going on. Chris Mason has made a nomination here. Darts legend Chris Mason, no less. I once had my photo taken in a Telford Pound stretcher with Ted Hankey. I wish I could find that photo now. What a legend Ted Hankey was. But anyway, I'm going off on one here. Chris Mason has nominated Ross Dugweed. He said, a lot of stick Amir Khan gets is due to his colour of skin. Great boxer who would have troubled Mayweather if he'd have got a chance. Chris has thrown that one in. Bob Bradley has been nominated by Gavin Stevens. I've just been sick in my own mouth, says Gavin. Bob said, who's he talking about? Dave Allen again. Here we are. He's got a granite chin. He can bang. He's a much better boxer than given credit for. A fit and focused Dave Allen is dangerous, says Bob Bradley, and potentially top 10.
Fucking hell. Jesus. Where do you even start with that shit, man?
Rewind about 45 minutes back and Ozzy gave his answer already.
This is what has happened. This cult exists, and this myth and persona that Allen gets in shape, and a top 10 fighter. Why? Where has this come from? Oh, it's just absolutely absurd to even think that.
John Doe in the chat, he has rightly reminded me that there's been no Chukwu shout-outs tonight. I haven't seen the main man himself, Jason Chukwu, in the chat, unfortunately, but we will keep you informed if he appears between now and when we finish.
He's holding a candle at vigil outside Adonis Stevenson's hospital.
No, maybe he is. Wherever you are, Chukwu, we love and respect you. Curtis Woodhouse is talking about MMA guys. Ishrak Tarafdar got stuck in. Josh Hussey nominated him, talking about MMA fighters killing Floyd in less than a round. Addy has nominated Chris. Chris is this strange guy who keeps on tweeting Conor McGregor, talking about him having the incredible footwork of Willie Pep. And I think Conor might have retweeted one of his tweets one time, and he's on it now. MMA Baller 13_ you call him anyway. Chris, he's been nominated. And Neil Ryan has nominated.
Speaking of Conor and Khabib, how about their Bellews of the week? I mean, I know they're not boxers, but
Conor McGregor, professional boxer, 0-1 record.
Could you say something, by the way? There's beef, there's IFL beef, there's matchroom beef, and then there's McGregor and Khabib, by the way. That's just fucking... Hey, I'm telling you right now, somebody's going to get fucking... I don't mean iced. I mean iced in the point they're going to be putting a fucking slab. I'm not kidding you, man. This is going to go too far.
It's gone way too far. It's gone way too far. Although I kind of can't. I get pelters for this, like, because I'm Irish, but I kind of can't fault Khabib in the way that he's responded. He's in the face of high provocation again, and really, I don't know what the fuck McGregor's playing at, unless he's trying to live in his head or whatever, and that's the only way he has the chance in the rematch, because it didn't fucking work from the first time. He got manhandled, and there's nothing to suggest that he won't get manhandled again. So I don't know what's going on, but there's no need for that.
Are they going to fight again then, Rob? I really am clueless of this world.
I think that's the what McGregor was trying to negotiate, and then Dana was like offering him a fee, and he was like, no, I want stocks in the UFC as well. Like, I run this company, like, I want. So then they didn't give it to him, and he kind of retired, and then he started this social media thing. But it's just classless. Like, it's totally classless, and there's no. I don't want to sound like a prude, because you know what I mean. Like, Tyan Boots, one of my favorite people of watching his stuff, but there's a line, man. Like, you know what I mean? Especially when...
Aye, but that's the thing, though. He's got no lines. There's nowhere he will go to try and get the edge mentally on somebody, by the way. Nowhere.
Well, I think if you got 100 million in the bank, you're going to be surrounded by yes men as well. You know what I mean? So I don't think there's anybody in his corner to say, what the fuck are you doing, man? Come on, get a grip of yourself.
That's a good
point. Leave the guy's wife alone.
That's a good point.
I think both of them are absolute pricks and boring if they're not fighting.
There you go. Hey, today, final word from him. Back to Bellew of the Weeks, everybody. Neil Ryan has nominated Billy Joe Saunders, flexing his muscles. Is that Billy Joe or Jeremy Beadle? One arm is about 4 times the size of the other, says Neil Ryan. Marcus Bellinger, here we are. We're on to the meat now. He nominated Fight Ghost, put this up. Apparently there was a fight on Saturday night. Mayweather Boxing, where I don't know who was fighting, but anyway, they were filming it through Facebook.
Oh,
and this is Fight Ghost on Twitter was reporting exactly what happened, and Marcus Bellinger tagged me in on this. The Mayweather Facebook commentary team doesn't realise their mics are already on. BJ Flores was caught on audio saying, I don't know anything about the undercard, guys. His partner then says, don't worry, bro, it doesn't matter. I just wing this shit every time. Oh, great, says Fight Ghost. True professionals.
That sounds like us before we go on here.
I was just going to say that.
Who's seen what, by the way? I mean, talk about... I mean, can you imagine rocking up and show... It was like that time Richard Keys was commenting on the Scotland game against the Faroe Islands. I think we drew 2 each or 1 each. I can't remember. We drew anyway, and it was fucking shite. And Keys got caught at the end of the fucking broadcast saying as... Shit country, shit game, shit pitch, fuck off.
He was brilliant. I loved when he got busted and he said to Redknapp something about, you'll be down there anyway, Jamie, wouldn't you? Hanging out the end of it every night. Did you smash it, Jamie? Did you smash it? You're like, oh shit, Richard Keys is a down.
You can see soon as they kick him on the foot and that, like, what you're fucking saying here, boy?
Thing is, on this one though, with BJ Flores, he has previous form. Do you remember his whole thing about you need to cut off the ring? I don't know how.
Remember he shouted Romy Gonzalez and that scene he was in a serious fighter because he was a flyweight.
There you go, BJ. And whoever the other guy was, they said someone called Rambling Ralph, whoever that is. So he'll be rambling on out of the door, I would imagine.
That kind of shit reminds me of Carl Froch on the Sky Card, where he'll just like he walks around and asks people for notes and stuff. Like, it's documented, I guess, that he's asked other people for like what to say. At least though, the Cobra's got some credibility because he's had a very good career.
Yes.
EJ, like, why is he even a commentator? His career is shit. He's boring.
Well, it's hardly like he's hardly fucking shooting for the stars or anything. He's on the fucking Facebook feed for the Mayweather boxing.
Here, the highlight of his career was showing his Bobby at the fucking weigh-in, by the way. That was a highlight of his career, and Joe Gallagher was going mental about it. He was like, oh, look at the size of that, baby.
I had a great joke. I'm going to say it off air, though.
You shite bag.
You censoring yourself, Rob.
No, I'm not going to say it. Fuck it.
We got some more nominations to get through, but that's a front runner for me. I love that one. George Nader nominated David Haye, talking on the Carl Frampton Boxing Podcast about the prospect of Bakole being a 2-weight world champion. As good as Usyk is, said David Haye, Bakole has the physical attributes to go further than him. That's according to David Haye. As good as Usyk is, Bakole has the physical attributes to go further than him.
That's a belter, by the way.
That's a good one, isn't it? Any other week, it would be a front runner. Also, on another week, on a weaker week, this one will be right up there as well. Michael Gearty has nominated this. Boxing News interviewed Jamie McDonnell. Jamie McDonnell still believes he could have slayed Monster Inoue. So there you go. Turbo Tommy has nominated Mikey, Analyze Boxing. Now Marius Wack has been stopped. I think it's fair to say Dave Allen is the undisputed #1 toughest man in heavyweight boxing. 9 likes for that one as well. John O'Carroll was out in Dubai over the weekend. The champ of champs, he said, upon his meeting with Nassim Hamed, this man is one of the reasons why I wanted to box. Legend. Asthmatic Ant jumped in and said, the greatest ever British fighter, end of, unless AJ unifies. Moz X, mega lols from him. Fuck me. He nominates old Asthmatic Ant for that. Nomination for me coming in, flying in from Hunting Casuals as well. Article I wrote with some factual errors, taking my L like a man. One was a typo in my defence, but the other one, yes, I will 100%.
He fuck off, Philly.
Oh, not to that one. I thought you might like that one.
Go and fuck off yourself.
So there we go. He's hunting casuals like me this week, Rob. Hunting casual.
You're on the hit list,
like
baby.
Me. Rightly so. There you go. Always do your research properly. So a front runner has to be BJ. Dave, any nominations from you, sir?
No, not this week. Last week there had that Adam Smith one where he checked him out in the towel, but unfortunately we didn't have any boxing of note this week. So
nothing of note. Andy, you thrown in a few already anymore?
Yeah, did we mention Shakur Stevenson?
Oh, I forgot all about him.
What a wee bitch, man. I mean, let's just say I kind of he's maybe improving as a pro, but you know that technique in a street fight doesn't go down, man. I mean, what a wee curly wee bastard. I mean, the guy's lying on his knees, or he's on his knees, and he's throwing uppercuts and stuff like that to the guy's fucking face, and shouting his mates over so they can lay a kick into him and stuff. What a wee arsehole. I hope to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised to see him getting jail time. I think he will, because the Yankees love sending out fucking jail time over there, like, especially because he's a black man as well, so he's absolutely guaranteed to get fucking jail time out there. But
yeah, I think minimum he gets his license revoked. Like,
I was going to say, I mean, top rank will need to work wonders here. Bob will need to pull out the old fucking lawyer's degree and start fucking, defending this guy, man.
Well, he didn't pull it out last week, did he? Whenever they were trying to argue about Terence Crawford's former manager wasn't due a cut anymore, and they tried to argue that. I'm not going to get into the weeds of it, Andy, but apparently they were supposed to be paying Crawford's former manager or whatever under an agreement, and they tried to say that the fights with Victor Postol and Julius Indongo shouldn't count because they were title unifications and not defences. So you never know what Bob might come off with in court these days.
True, but I mean, what's Stevenson thinking about though, man? I mean, he's throwing haymakers at a guy's head with bare hands. This is a professional fighter,
and at the back of a girl's head, didn't he, as well?
I know.
Yeah, he hit a girl in the back of the head when she wasn't even looking.
It was bad. It looks terrible. It really does. And I'm surprised he's still fighting on the is it the Khan undercard? The BT Sports is still saying he's on.
Yeah,
I'd say he could get pulled still.
He must do, surely.
He's been arrested for it. He's been charged for it.
Yeah, no, I'd say he's going to get pulled from that card. I imagine putting him under the spotlight with the media frenzy and everything there as well. Like, you know what I mean? I think they'll be asking for trouble.
Yeah, I agree with that. Noel 50 has tweeted me. He's sent me a video of what happened before the TMT show. So I think this is the BJ Flores thing. I haven't had a chance to listen to it, but I've retweeted it. And hopefully people will find amusement at BJ and his friend before the fight. So there you go. That's over on Twitter. Gabe, any nominations from you?
Nope.
Ozzy?
No others from me.
And finally, Robert, any nominations?
No, but just to mention Chris Eubank saying that he can see similarities between him and Andre. The only similarity there is between Chris Eubank and Andre Ward is that they're both mixed race. That's it. Like, that's where it begins and that's where it ends. Andre Ward would have beat Chris Eubank with both of his hands broken, because he would have headbutted his way to a 12 round decision. And I think, like, obviously BJ's front runner, but like Paulie though, like, I can't overlook Paulie. As well as that, he kind of really sounds repressed. Like, he gave an interview a couple of weeks back with Michelle Joy Phelps where she was clearly uncomfortable, where he's accusing McGregor of being a homosexual because he can't get him out of his head. And then he said in this, after he slapped Artem and he's all hyped up with everybody and all the cameras are around, he goes, yeah. This is going to be real bad. Yeah, this is going to be real bad. I'm going to grab his neck. Like, when you're fucking your chick and you grab a neck, it's going to be like that, guys. Yeah. And everyone started laughing and all. I was just like, man, he sounded really mad, repressed or something. Like, so Malnazi, definitely a front runner, but it's hard to stop BJ Flores. Like, fuck this undercard and Ramblin' Ralph.
Who are you going for then, Rob? Come on.
Yeah, I think Flores has to get it this week, but
yeah, it's been a strong week. Ozzy, let's go back the way through the panel again. Then I'm going for BJ. Rob's going for BJ. BJ on your menu as well?
Negative. I'm going for the WBA. per their absurd ranking of Conor Benn, who's not put on the gloves for 6 months yet, continually rising up to number 6 in the world. I think that needs highlighting. Definitely.
Shows how good he is. He doesn't even have to fight to go up through the rankings.
Oh yeah, what can I say? He'll be a unified champion without having to fight next. So Team Ben.
Hashtag Team Ben Gabe. You're getting on board with that?
It's putting him ahead of Willie Pep in the all-time rankings as well, because Willie Pep won a round without throwing a punch, and Conor Benn is going up the rankings without having a fight, so he's even better than Willie Pep.
I wonder if Conor could actually win a world title without fighting again. I mean, that would be some going, but with the WBA, all things are possible.
Stranger things have happened.
What do you think, Gabe? Who are you going for this week?
Flores, for sure. I mean, what a fucking dick. And his partner. Just absolutely incredible. I mean, I'm pretty sure that if any of us got the opportunity to call a fight and get fucking paid for it, you would at least have prepared and go in with some kind of great attempt at knowledge of what you're about to fucking see. This guy's a fucking asshole, and his career is shit, and I hope he gets sparked the fuck out cold next time. I mean, what an idiot.
There you go. Unprecedented there, Andy. Gabe's laid down the marker, laid down the law.
Yeah, that's what it's like. The Grand Wizard spoken.
Okay. That'll do. Okay. Wait, go on. Andy, who are you going for?
Who was it I voted for there, actually? I did...
Gotta be BJ, come on.
BJ Flores. Well, with Stevenson and the WBA close second and third.
Yeah, well said. Plenty this week. Dave, only one man for you?
No, well, see, BJ, I can't decide which is less relevant, him or Mayweather boxing. Neither one of them deserve it. I'm going to go with the WBA for their shitty rankings, which set up shit like we're getting next week with Lomachenko and Krolla. It's very timely. They deserve more hate than little irrelevant BJ.
There we go. Then the WBA pushing it a bit closer in the end. I thought it was going to be a landslide to BJ, but he did manage to just push on past the post and get the win this week. We've had questions in from Paul Massingham, Danny Young. We'll push them on to next week, but we shall end on a question. A listener's favourite, Don McNamara, has thrown in. He says, I know I come out with these random questions from time to time, so I thought I'd keep the momentum going. So here we go then, Dave. We'll go to you first. We'll go through all the panel very briefly with this question from Don McNamara. He said, if you could go out for drinks with one person involved in the boxing business in any way, shape or form, who would it be? And if you could go to dinner with someone, so if you're going for drinks and for dinner, basically, with someone from the boxing business, who would it be? And the bastard has to tell you the truth about being the complete scumbag that they are. For me, it would be Roberto Duran and Bob Arum. And of course, they're both paying, says Don McNamara. Who are you going to be sitting opposite the table from you, Dave?
Oh, I was thinking Arum too. I mean, what a longevity that man has. And he's funny too.
Evil never dies, man, does it?
I can tell you it wouldn't be Pulev. You know, that seems a bit risky. Maybe it would be Jenny Sushi or whatever the hell that bitch's name is.
You'd have to bring Donnie to the table with you to sit in.
Sushi Minge.
Better
watch, we get flagged for that sexual nudity content again, by the way.
I'm going to go with B-Hop. I love B-Hop, even though he often comes off as like a crazy person, and I think the punches have done a little something to him. I mean, I've always wanted to tell him that I liked him. No homo.
Well said. Well then, Andy. So Don McNamara has asked you the question as well. For drinks and for dinner, you're sitting there, anyone in the boxing business in any shape or form, they have to pay and they have to tell you what a complete bastard they've been. They have to tell you the truth about what a scumbag they are. Who would you sit down and get to reveal all?
Sugar Ray Leonard. Because I know if you read some of his books and stuff like that, some of the shit he's pulled off, you know. One thing I always remember reading in his book and that as well was about his comment about Muhammad Ali and stuff like that. One of the first questions Ali asked him that, he says, you know, how are you for pussy? so I'm saying to myself, you know, the guy's done like domestic violence, he's done copious amounts of cocaine, alcohol, you know, he's basically wrote the blueprint for Floyd and how to kind of avoid fights for a certain time period. But at the same time, he's been in some good fights and that as well. I think he'd have a miraculous story to tell, actually.
I think I'd sit down with Tyan Booth. He could pay for the Echo Falls, because if you imagine, Andy, the stuff that he's willing to tell you on camera, imagine the stories he's got off camera.
Yeah, true. But look at the amount. Look at the amount of money that Ray Leonard's got, man. He'd be providing the drugs, the women, the alcohol. I mean, Christ, man, I wouldn't make it home alive, you know.
Right, Gabe, come on then. You're sitting down for a nice steak, barbecue, got the old cowboy hat on, rattlesnake in your boxers, trying to get it out. Who are you sitting down with for dinner and drinks, Gabe?
Yeah, I can think of so many.
It's going to be Robert Hellenius.
Lawrence Cole.
They just stare at each other, not being able to understand the language.
I don't know if I would risk going with Don King, but that might be a good one. I would be interested to hear about all the shit that he's done. I mean, I think a lot of it's pretty much out there, but I think there's probably quite a bit that people don't know about. I think that would be an interesting conversation, so long as he didn't fucking kill me, stomp me, or whatever it was.
Here, Gabe, who's the current Grand Imperial Wizard at the minute? Would you not want to sit down with him?
He's not boxing related, Andy.
All right, well, I suppose he put a few blacks in a few boxes.
I didn't understand what the fuck you said.
I said, who's the current Grand Imperial Wizard?
Go fuck yourself.
Right, come on, we're short on time now. Let's move on. Ozzy, some good shouts out in the chat. A few people are saying if he was still alive, Edwin Valero, excellent one. That if you could get a translator, some of the stories Valero would be able to tell you would be priceless. Who are you going for?
He'd probably kill you during the conversation, man.
Before we had to pay the bill.
Yeah, exactly.
Are we picking two?
You can pick as many as you want.
Just the one. Eubanks Senior. I think he amuses me. I find him funny, and I think another one who's got loads of stories. Definitely Frank Warren. The first one, you'd try and find out who shot him, and then after that, talk about all the lawsuits and cases, and then in general, I think it'd be quite interesting. That actually.
Sign it off allegedly, by the way.
Allegedly, Frank Warren.
I know Kurt Ward would pick Kelly Maloney.
Thing was, there was he'd be left with the bill and he'd probably bounce.
Yeah, sure.
Anyway, let's move on, shall we? Rapping Rob Kelly, final one to you. Who are you sitting down with?
It's funny Dave said B-Hop, because I did get to interview B-Hop on a different podcast before I was on this one. And I was trying to play to B-Hop, like, because I was such a fan. So I told him that I thought, like, he got robbed against Calzaghe for similar antics that he did in the build-up to him in Trinidad. But because he said I'll never lose to a white boy, whoop-de-whoop, right? Well, B-Hop loved this, right? And he went on such a rant that his phone battery died and the interview had to get cut short because he didn't get he literally didn't stop, like, for to take a breath. So that was good.
Thanks for the heads up. Now I know my way to his heart.
Yeah, exactly. But I did get to sit down for dinner with Manny Stewart. That was really cool. To the point that we're recreating Robinson versus Fulmer knockout in the lobby of the hotel before the fucking Andy Lee fight. So he was telling the truth. He was just telling loads of cool boxing stories, like behind the scenes shit. Like, it was really cool. Like, but I'd have to say, if I was going to pick one to go for dinner with, it wouldn't be Carl Froch, because he'd be bitching over the onion rings. So I'd say Ricardo Mayorga be a good one.
Pay for the onion rings, Carl. Fucking onion rings. Yeah. You made a good point on Emmanuel Stewart there. Forgotten about him. Editing King said that as well. I had the pleasure of talking. I didn't interview him, but I spoke to him a few times in Limerick when he was over with Andy Lee. Such a fascinating guy. And I know this probably sounds like a stupid thing to say, but just listening back to old HBO broadcasts, I was watching Pirog against Jacobs the other day, and you sort of miss Manny. He's like an old friend, you know, just that voice and all that. I know sounds a bit odd, Rob, but there you go.
Big time, man. I look, just for the legendary nights ones alone, like, you can never forget him. The night of War Gaddy, like, where he just lost his shit. He was just turned into a fan screaming at ringside, like. So he was really cool. Like, he always made time for me, and you know, he didn't have to. He just knew, and he just introduced me as the fella that was doing the music, and he just kind of clicked from there. Like, and one day he was just like, "Hey, come for dinner with me." So the two of us went on our own, sat down for like an hour and a half. And just went from, you know, went through the history of boxing, talked about all the great fighters. It was unreal. Like, I'll never forget it. Like, it was unreal.
Well said, right, Dave. Got one to throw in for next week. Are you going to hold that off and hit us next week with that, Dave?
Yeah, I just had a question. It's been like, it occurred to me this week as I was listening to last week's episode on iTunes. And it takes a little bit of thought, I think. So just think of your answers, gentlemen or listeners, and come back next week with some answers.
Or ladies, Dave, or ladies.
And ladies. Emily, what's her name?
Emily Rogerson, yeah.
Emily Rogerson. Thank you, Emily. And it was going to be just, which fighter, can you think of a fighter who has reinvented himself in terms of, I was thinking about this because of how Anthony Fowler and Ozzy was saying there's a lot of things he needs to change. And I was thinking, well, yeah, he's never going to change these things. I mean, he might make a few minor adjustments, but, you know, fighters almost always stay with what got them there, stay with who they are deep down. Like, you almost never see a slugger become a boxer or something like that. And so I wanted your best answers for fighters who have made that transformation.
Well, I can think of one already, but we'll leave it for next week. Everybody on the panel, everybody in the chat, YouTube, Twitter, whenever you're listening to this on iTunes or YouTube, Tumblr, Podbean, Stitcher, I don't even know if we're even on that, but whatever, then hit us up next week with the answer to that one. We're going to have to hook it out of here. Thank you, Dave, for throwing that in. Also, great to hear you back. Hey to Dave, love hearing that voice. Andy as well is on with us as always. Good man. Gabe Lewis, Ozzy Smith, Rob Kelly as well was joining us. Thanks to the guests who come on. Bill L. Raymond and Joe Hughes. Good to hear from them. All of you in the chat, we love you. Thanks, Don McNamara. Throw in another question for next week if you want. I've been Steve Wellings. We'll catch you all again, same time, same place. Bye.